you get a treadmill or something, you get some sweet, sweet action. It's a free podcast, but I mean, if you're going to do it anyway, don't make that face. All right, Trevor Moore, get into it.
Hey, Trev.
How are you?
You know I call Zach Krager Kriegs?
Kriegs?
I find that very funny.
Does he like that or not like that?
Well, I thought for a very long... I don't think he liked it at first. I think he's grown to like it because I thought his last name was Krieger.
Krieger,
But
right.
it's Krager.
Krager.
But I still call him Krieg.
You put an I in it.
You think that's what it would be? C-R...
R-I-E-G.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that? And C-R-E-G-G.
E-G-G would be Krager.
Of course. Are you gonna... You want these?
Sure.
Eating some raw chocolate. What did you have for breakfast?
I didn't have breakfast.
No breakfast?
Not yet, no.
Just a Diet Coke and an electronic cigarette?
Exactly.
You're like
every
the
breakfast.
new romancer.
Yeah.
You're just a science fiction hero.
Every now and then, like a bag of sour worms. Sour worms and electronic cigarettes.
Are you not a big eater?
No, I eat like once a day. And
What?
I eat like a bunch.
What are you
like a
What are you
snake.
doing? I need to know what you're doing.
I'll eat
When
like,
is that meal happening?
like 4.
You go till 4?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when you're shooting and stuff?
Well, no, I mean, if we're shooting, I'll kind of like graze on whatever's around.
Because it's there.
Because it's there.
Is that to say that normally when you're not eating till 4, it's because of convenience? Like if there was a craft service table in your apartment that had fresh pineapple, you'd eat it in the morning?
I'd probably eat, yeah.
Well, bring it out. It's like Extreme Home Makeover, but I just bring out trays of food for you. So you go till 4. It doesn't make you like lightheaded, blurry, inattentive.
No, I'll go through like 3 or 4 of these electronic cigarettes by then. You know, so it's pretty. It keeps me.
The nicotine.
Going. Yeah, I eat nicotine mostly.
Like Frank Zappa.
Was he a
Here's
bit?
a quote. I got it from Joe DeRosa where he's like, "I drink this black water, coffee, and I eat cigarettes." Like he considered eating them. Like that was his diet. That was his sustenance. That's what you're also doing.
Probably. Well, when I used to smoke, I would go. You know, I could go a whole day without eating. You know, just because
It's an appetite suppressant, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And like, you know, kind of. I smoked when I lived in New York, and like you'd maybe. You know, every now and then grab a slice of pizza somewhere, but there was no meals.
Right.
You know, because
Also,
you just kind of walk around and like,
well,
I'm hungry at this moment.
Less urgency. There's always something right there. The equivalent of a craft service table in your apartment.
Yeah.
You were one of the first people I saw with an electronic cigarette. That was years ago.
Oh yeah, that was
You're like
an early adopter.
You're a pioneer.
Yeah. A friend of mine, I had them when you had to get them from England.
What?
Yeah.
They had them there first?
I had to order it from England.
Electric fags?
Yeah.
That's what they call them. Everybody relax.
And,
I'm regretting making that joke.
just bleep it. How often do you just bleep stuff on here?
We never bleep stuff.
Never? Do people ever complain? Have you ever?
Sometimes.
Really?
It happens every once in a while.
What
Everybody.
topic?
What topic?
Yeah.
Sometimes, very rarely race. Sometimes, like if rape comes up, it's almost always going to be offensive. Usually, the people that we offend the most are atheists because we don't represent their views well. If I get somebody on the show that says atheists have as much faith as believers, just in other things, I mean,
They get mad.
it's over. They just don't want to be thought of that way. They want to be like, hey, relax. And you know, I try. I read the comments and I try and do better. Let me try your electronic cigarette. This is so gross. Does it taste like a cigarette?
Not really. They're trying.
Oh, God. No. It hurt me. It hurts.
Those are actually
just
kind of
like-
strong. Those ones. Yeah.
You know, nicotine's a good stimulant, mental stimulant and stuff. And I was just telling Katie that was gross. I kind of regret it. I'm feeling a little lightheaded.
Did you ever smoke?
No.
Never a smoker. That's good.
Smoking's bad.
Yeah, it is.
I've been told it's very bad. I have a drunk Pete likes to smoke.
So yes, you have smoked then.
I have smoked cigarettes,
okay.
in my life, but I mean, I was never like a smoker.
Yeah.
Except when I dated a smoker. Can I put this to you? We're talking about early adopter of electronic cigarettes and stuff. People like inhaling things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I just enjoy, I wish there was an oxygen cigarette. I really do. One that would just give you a hit of pure oxygen. That's one of my invention ideas.
That's a good. You should do that. They have oxygen bars.
I know.
Like, you go to Vegas, they've got like those
Yes.
oxygen places.
Which is weird. You have to do it for like 15 minutes or something before you're supposed to feel the effects or whatever.
Right.
I'm going to write down that F word just in case we take. I'm still thinking about it. But I'm such a weirdo. The last thing I bought on Amazon was I typed in recreational oxygen because I wanted to see what would come up. Because whenever it's in a movie or something, it was in the second Sherlock Holmes. He uses recreational oxygen, and a lot of people a lot of those old not that Sherlock Holmes is real, but a lot of old timey writers would inhale it, and it gives you euphoria.
Yeah.
And then a lot of energy and a lot of clarity. It's temporary, of course. So I was like, can you just buy oxygen? Turns out you can. On Amazon, you can buy it.
Really, just super concentrated oxygen.
It's just regular. I think it's just pure, and it's a big can. It looks like hairspray, and you just inhale it. It doesn't. It's a little bit of a letdown.
Really,
I've inhaled pretty much the entire can, and nothing really happens.
You should try nitrous.
So how did you find out about them, electronic cigarettes, in Great Britain?
My friend Dan Neubauer.
Yeah, sure.
He was saying, he was doing them, and he was like, "These are great." I'm afraid of lung cancer.
Of course.
And so I wanted to quit smoking.
As a smoker, aren't you, every time you have an ailment, aren't you worried that it's smoking related? Like your leg is sore, aren't you worried that that's a blood clot or something?
I was, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But I mean, I haven't smoked for 5 years at this point.
Sure. So your lungs are clean.
Yeah,
no, they're clean.
5 years, is that the turnaround?
Oh no, way less than that.
Well, then,
I'm not trying to.
Right.
I'm trying to advocate quitting smoking. I went to the doctor. I think this is worth interrupting you for. I went to the doctor, and I had been seeing a girl who smoked, which I just can't do because it's not that I love smoking. It's that I'm a puss. I'd like to think I'm better now. A little bit more boundaries, a little bit more my own person. But if the girl is smoking, I will smoke so she's not alone. I want to do what she's doing with her.
Right.
That's just a whole therapy session right there. We should talk about that with my therapist.
So it's very important that, it's very important the people that you date, what they do.
It's true.
Because...
And they have to kind of be do what I'm doing. I do you find that?
If you date someone who's into parkour, you're going to just be
romping all over town.
You're in a wheelchair within a couple of weeks.
It's kind of true. Do you find that in relation? Are you seeing somebody?
I'm married.
You're married. Yeah. So you are.
I am seeing somebody.
Anybody on the side? I'm kidding. But the idea that when I start seeing somebody, even if they're wonderful, it's really hard to maintain some of the weirder things that I enjoy doing. I meditate. Meditating usually goes right out the window. If I'm spending a weekend with somebody, that's a harder thing to maintain. Believe me, I'd rather be fucking than meditating. You know what I mean? But that's how it goes.
Yeah.
They're not bad things, but it's hard. I can't be the guy that's sorry, sweetheart, 30 minutes alone and slam the door. Yeah. I want to be making scrambled eggs and dancing around in bunny slippers. Was that Jesus knocking? What the fuck was that? Oh, okay, sorry. I'm really scared today. It's early. We don't normally record this early. Do you find that you forfeit your values when you're in a relationship?
Not so much, but
that's great. What a great answer.
But kind of the same thing when I almost in a different angle. When I started smoking, I was dating a girl who smoked, and I was kind of I was smoking is bad. Don't smoke because then you'll get cancer or something.
Right.
So then I thought I had the idea. I was 18 or 19, I was whenever she smokes, I'll smoke. And then she'll be I don't want you to start smoking. And then I smoked for a day or two, and I was this is fucking awesome. And then...
That's how you started.
That's how I got into smoking. I was this is great.
Let's speak in defense of smoking.
Honest to God.
It's great, right?
I love it. And if they cured...
You were so sincere.
Yeah. If I left this podcast right now and I turned on my radio when I got in the car and they said we've just cured lung cancer, I would turn around, go straight to the 7-Eleven, buy a carton of cigarettes, and I would just smoke for my entire life.
You just love it.
Yeah.
They don't make you feel like shit.
You don't. You smell terrible.
Yep. These are great reasons to quit. One of my good friends who was trying to quit went with the smell angle. You have to find what is your sticking point. Just pick one, because that book, How to Quit Smoking the Easy Way or whatever, points out that you can't conceptualize fully what it means to have lung cancer.
Right.
If the ghost of Christmas future could come and bring you to the doctor's office and give you the diagnosis, it might scare you straight a little bit, but for the most part, you need something more superficial, I smell bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've had that happen. I've smoked a cigarette and then been with a lady, that I'm seeing, and I thought it was a really long time ago that I smoked the cigarette, and then she's like, "You smell like shit," and you're like, "Fuck, these things really they cling on to you."
No, it stays for a long time.
So stinky. And then I was asking if it makes you feel bad, like lethargic or coffee or gross.
Not real. I mean, that was never a big thing.
Because you got that stock. Where do your people hail from?
Where do we hail?
Yeah.
I mean, like way back?
Yeah, way back.
Like Ireland and Scotland.
See, I wonder if it's that Scottish. I got some of that Irish too. Although those people have girth and stock, and you know what I mean, like a little bit of grit.
Unhealthy.
Yeah,
Bad habits.
And they can handle it, or they can handle it better than others. I was talking to a friend. Some people just can't. I'm 1-2 puffs of a cigarette, and I'll feel it the next day. It's just because I'm a baby boy.
I went from my first cigarette to a pack a day.
What?
In the span of a month.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, it was just I just took to it. I loved it, and if I wasn't so terrified of lung cancer, I would go right back.
Here's the other thing that's great about it. Always something to do. Even with the electronic cigarettes, there's something to do. You know what I mean? Like, I do enjoy that. That idea, like, even the taking off the cellophane, the packing it.
The whole ritual, yeah.
The ritual.
Well, look at this. This is, terrible radio because I'm showing you.
Yeah, who cares?
This is...
It's a free show.
The pack that the electronic cigarette comes in is like a Zippo.
Yeah, see?
So they just they know that it's the
a
ritual.
Digital fixation.
Yeah.
You have this habit. I love playing with Zippos. I love lighters. I love matches.
Fire.
I love fire. But also smoke is the coolest. You look like a goddamn dragon. You're like, that's out. You know what I mean? You're just breathing death. And also the subtle message, that's why they're badass and that's why they're sexy, that you don't care about your own mortality, that you're facing it.
Yeah.
That's why drunks are romantic. Like, obviously I just watched Midnight in Paris because it's come up on the past 2 episodes. But like Hemingway sitting alone, like housing a bottle of house wine, but just like housing some wine alone. There's something romantic about it. It's like, this guy doesn't give a shit about his liver. When you're smoking, you don't give a fuck about everything. You know what I mean? So that's dangerous. I'm not breaking any new ground, but I get it. So you need all the help you get. So I have to imagine, how old were you when you started?
This was probably 18, 19.
See, there you go. And you're looking for your identity. And then you had another box, smoker. Trevor Moore is a... Smoker. Like tall, whatever. Like, we have nothing. Like in high school, I was like, Pete likes punk rock. Like, you're desperate for some sort of identity.
Yeah.
And you went with smoker. I get it.
Like, I had like a big fan of the movie Face Off.
Were you
and
really?
A smoker. Yeah.
Were you an
I thought that movie was amazing when it came
the
out.
movie Face Off?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Fucking Nick Cage, man. Where is he? I'd watch a like adaptation, right? So good.
Yeah.
It's that Jim Carrey, it's the Eternal Sunshine thing. Why don't those guys do more? Is it because there aren't those scripts floating around? Like, where are those other choices for those guys to continue these like epic roles?
There's probably just more money in like the big summer blockbusters, so that every now and then they dabble in like the art films, like adaptation and Face Off.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's fantastic.
They should do a sequel to that now. Can you imagine?
Face Off?
With like an old John Travolta and a old Nicolas Cage?
Yeah.
They're rebooting everything. They should do that.
And then the face-off technology would look so much better.
Yeah.
Like back then, well, it was just
It was
them,
still pretty
wasn't
good.
it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the scene where they like put the face
It's
on.
like a rubber mask. It pulls off. But then they could also like pass the torch to a younger generation of face-offers, like a Shia LaBeouf or a Demi Lovato. Yeah. Demi Lovato and Shia LaBeouf get their faces switched, and it's like a passing of the torch. Like, Travolta's still in it. But,
like Starsky and Hutch, they're just in the end.
Yeah.
Going like, I had my face off once as they run out of a bank or something.
That would make $1 trillion.
I love that so much. You also, I saw you smoking weed smoke out of an electronic cigarette. Or maybe you were telling me that you could.
You can, but I don't think I've ever done. They have them, but I don't think I've ever done electronic.
I thought you just put hemp oil in the thing.
Oh no, I mean there's some that you can. I don't know if you can just put it in any of them, but they do sell them like specifically for that.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Like where it's legal, like in Los Angeles, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Do you? I know that I remember talking to you once about Whitest Kids, and you guys were interviewed by High Times.
Yeah,
and they kept trying to push you guys to like say that you got your ideas from weed.
Yeah,
is that didn't you tell me that? Story? Yeah. What is your relationship with drugs?
I'm pretty pro, I'm pro drugs.
Yeah.
But I don't really smoke a lot of pot.
Yeah. What does that look like?
What does pot look like?
No. It looks like oregano. I learned my lesson. It's a bag of oregano. Okay, I'm sorry. Don't send me to get the drugs.
Older kids are mean.
It was pencil shaving. No, what does that mean? I'm wondering if you still smoke it.
I don't regularly, but if every now and then, like maybe once or twice a year.
Okay.
So not frequently at all.
Yeah. No, I dig it.
I like it when I do. I just don't happen to do it a whole bunch.
Is that a choice? Like, would you like to do it more? Are you trying to keep sharp? I don't mean to always push the stereotype that because some stoners I know are incredibly sharp, but for me, like with cigarettes, I can't handle weed either.
Yeah. Well, it's not. I've never really enjoyed being high in public.
I dig it.
I don't really like being high, and even the very few times that I will smoke pot, it's just when you're going to bed.
Sure.
Kind of. I don't really like being high in front of people because I'm not one of those people that can get high and just sort of just hang out.
Right.
Talk.
Are you okay with how you are?
Yeah. I kind of go up in my head and then I need to go to sleep.
I totally understand. Yeah. I get the loner stoner thing. The first time I smoked pot, I just immediately I was like, I have to go in my room and listen to Radiohead right now. And I did. I was with my brother. My brother smoked me up, as the kids say, the first time right after my divorce. And I thought it was like a cigarette. So I took 4 or 5 drags.
Oh, you didn't even?
Joint.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know what it was. My brother was like, hey, really going for it. I'm like, what are you talking about? 10 minutes later, I'm in my bedroom. I literally was eating peanut butter with my fingers and listening to radio. But now, go.
But that's just a weird image. What album? What?
I just put them all on shuffle. I wasn't in the mood to make a decision. Are you same way? Are you the same way with alcohol?
Yeah. No. I mean, I'll drink. Way more than I'll do. Drugs,
right? It gets out of you a little faster. I think.
Yeah.
Burns out quicker. But
I can be social with drinking.
Sure. But what brought it to mind was I have the same feeling of I don't like being in public when I'm too much to drink, 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever. I don't like. At that point, I'm I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid. It goes back to being afraid of how I'd be perceived. The same thing with pot. I wouldn't want to be anywhere but with maybe 1 or 2 close friends. But if I was just high at a party where other people weren't high,
yeah,
I think that would be terrifying.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of the opposite with drinking. Where if I drink more, I'll be like, wait a minute, I got something I want to say to that person.
Yeah, sure.
I don't like that guy. Let me go talk to him.
Yeah. Okay, that works for me. How do you meet Mrs. Moore?
We were in the Page program at NBC together.
That's a great story.
Actually, I was because I was an intern at Saturday Night Live for a year. And she was a page, and then after after my internship, I joined the page program, and so we met that way.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you've been together for a while.
10 years.
Wow. How long were you married? Are you married? Have you been married? When did you get divorced?
We got divorced about 6 years ago. Still together.
Just to keep the fire alive.
Yeah.
Maybe we won't get remarried.
Well, we're great roommates.
I smell a pilot. Let's shoot it. Divorce, but they stay together. Wait, that was a movie. That was that Andy Samberg and that girl from Parks and Rec. And they get divorced, but they're still
together.
Good chums.
Huh.
Yeah.
That seems unhealthy.
Yeah, it was a pretty big buy, as they say in the biz. It's a big buy that they would remain friends after they're married. But I guess that happens from time to time.
It's probably happened a couple times.
Yeah.
In the course of history.
It always off-puts me. How are you with your exes? I burn and turn.
I don't really talk to them.
Yeah, there you go. There's a fucking Irishman. That's what I'm saying. Black melancholy. It's over, baby.
Well, I mean, they're doing the same thing to me.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
just it's just let's just move on.
Yeah. 1 or 2, still friends. The most part, fucking beat it.
Yeah.
I don't have any time for the past, and then I take off on a jetpack. That's what I say to them.
Do you? Oh, whoa.
That
was me.
That was
Sorry.
also the future.
Do you break up with people, or do people break up with you? Or is it a mix and match?
I've only been broken up with once, and that was my wife.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm not saying that to be cool. I've also only been in 5 relationships.
Yeah.
So I'm 1 and 4.
That's good.
1 and 5, maybe.
That's
What about
80,
you?
That's about 80%.
I hate breaking up with people.
Really?
It's a horrible feeling. I've said this on podcasts before, but not this one. You have to plan on it. Like, because I like, for the most part, doing it in person.
Right.
So you have to, like, set a plan. Like, if you're just dating, and then you have to put it in your phone.
Oh, really? Like just set a calendar?
Yeah, you'd be like, I'll see you on Thursday to break. Like, she doesn't know. I'm going to break up with you. So you just put it in your phone, hurt Linda. iPhone all day. Oh, it's all day. You reserve the whole day for hurting Linda, and you don't know. I love using the word dungeon. Is one of my favorite verbs. But you're dungeoned by the reality that you know you have to break up with them, and it's coming, and they don't know. It's a terrible thing. It's like being a doctor, and you have to diagnose them and be like, this relationship has immediate cancer. We're going to die today.
Yeah.
It's horrible. What about you? Did you break up with people?
I've broken up with people, but I'm not good at it. Like I would always sort of break up and then end up still together. There's be like 5 breakups before it actually stuck. Yeah.
Do they get progressively meaner or?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, no, the breakup doesn't get meaner, but the relationship gets worse.
Oh yeah,
going through the 5.
Sure.
And so it just you're solidifying your argument in the first place. That, I would like to bring up again that I don't think we should be together.
Right. You bring up the same briefcase and the same files, and it's like the evidence was there the first time.
Yeah. It's getting kicked all the way up to Supreme Court, and then you're finally there.
That's great. But you, what was I going to say? The idea that when you get back, that's exhilarating. Like mine with one relationship was 10 times. The 10th time, 10 breakups. She was pretty resilient. It was always me every time. And God love her. I mean, she was just trying to make it work. I don't mean to shit on her, but it took 10 times. And one of the reasons I kept going back was, first of all, so I'm Daddy Puss Pants, who's smoking because they smoke or whatever. Like, I just boundaryless and just not much of an established man personality. So what would happen was I'd be Puss in Boots, and I do mean that as a coward, not as a vagina. Puss, and then I'd break up, and then all of a sudden you'd get this flood of decisiveness and like manliness, like for lack of a better term. You're like kind of like I'm a man and I'm breaking up with you, and that would feel so good that it would almost like reinvigorate you and enable you to stay in the relationship because like in that relationship I had a hard time with the power dynamic. Like she really, for lack of a better expression, wore the pants. I was more under her thumb. That's a better way to say it. So then I'd break up, and she'd be like, please don't break up with me. And I was like, I like this, because it evened things out a little bit. And then, like, makeup, sex, and, like, for a couple weeks, like, the honesty gates were open. You know what I mean? Because you just broke up. There's no more honest time than a breakup.
Right.
That's why they can sometimes kind of feel good. You know what I mean? Because you're like, we're in this safe space where I'm going to be able to say anything because who fucking cares? Because this is over, and I hate the way you chew on pencils. You know what I mean? Like it just gets to come out, and that can feel good, and that can be misleading. And then I get the multiple breakups and getting back together.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's why you did it, but that's why I would do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because you're also probably putting, focus on the relationship for that brief period of time,
right?
And that's really what a relationship needs.
Yeah.
And then as time goes on, you stop paying attention to it,
right?
And then it gets shitty again.
And then you're back you're back, and then you get the folder out,
yeah,
and it's back from the Supreme Court, and it's got all sorts of official stamps on it, and you're like, fucking sign the deal. This is over. But so you met. Well, you must not have that much experience because you were a youngin'.
Yeah, I met my wife when I was 23.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's when I got married. I was 22.
Oh, really?
How wild is that?
Yeah.
And I know we
both
grew up religious. Did that inform it at all?
I don't
think
so. I mean, that definitely, I don't think that made, because I still, I dated my wife for 7 years before we got married.
Oh,
so
okay.
I didn't rush into getting married.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And I actually, in like a weird, kind of OCD thing, I didn't want to get married until I was 30. Like, I had that set in my head, like, just because I thought that people that got married in their 20s, it usually ends in disaster.
Sure.
So I was like,
hey,
30.
right here.
So I was like, 30s when you get married. Now, I ended up meeting my wife at 23.
Yep.
So we waited 7 years just because I kind of dragged my feet, which,
right.
God bless her, like she kind of like put up with it for 7 years. But I was just like, I don't want to get married till I'm 30. I don't want to get married till I'm 30.
But isn't that just an arbitrary rule?
It totally is.
Because someone could come up to you and be like, we looked at our birth certificate and we're off by 3 years or whatever, and you're actually 33 now or whatever. You know?
That would be crazy.
I smell another pilot. You're 50. What?
You know what I did? Just we're talking about birth certificates.
Did it?
I just did this like a week ago. Actually, like more 2 weeks ago. But I found my birth certificate, and because I was going through like some old like files, and I found a copy of my birth certificate
next to a treasure map and a skull with a candle on it.
But they say your physician's name on the birth certificate.
Okay.
So like I Googled him, and he's got a practice in New Jersey. And it was like in the middle of the afternoon, I was like, I'm gonna call him. Like, and I called, and I called the physician that delivered me, and he picked up the phone. It's an old guy, and I just hung up on him.
You just wanted to touch the hands that touched you first.
And it was this really weird feeling, like it's kind of like pranking. Yeah.
What have you told that man when he held you, screaming and covered in placenta, that one day in roughly 20-some-odd years, this baby would call you and hang
up on you? Yeah.
I thought you were gearing up to be like, and I was like, you brought me into this world. Thank you so much. I know you're in the twilight of your life, but you brought me into the spring of mine. Nope. You just hung up.
Yeah.
Just gone. That is so fucking funny. So, okay. Did you know Patrick Walsh, by any chance? You did?
Yeah.
Have we talked about this?
We played poker at his house.
Oh, that's how you know him.
No, I knew him from the Page program.
I mean, the
I thought you were saying, do I know him?
I didn't know. I remember now that we've played cards at his house, but I didn't know you guys actually knew each other, because sometimes, looking back, it's obvious.
No, he and Sonny were both in the Page program.
And that's how you were all chummy chums.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
Yeah.
And you met your wife.
Yep.
And you were on SNL. I mean, like you were an intern.
I was
at
an
SNL.
intern, yeah.
Was that terrifying? Pat has some interesting stories about being terrifying.
In the Page program?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it was.
Or intimidated.
Yeah, well, it's intimidating. It's very, everybody there is very serious about, what they're doing. I mean, it's a very hard thing to get into. The only reason I got into it is because I was coming from, I was Lorne Michaels' intern. So I had a letter of recommendation, because I would have never passed all of the,
Wait, you were his intern?
Yeah, I was his intern.
Isn't that harder to get?
I don't know. It must not be that hard, because I got it.
Just out of school.
Well, you know what I did? It was I was at home for the summer in Virginia, and I got the interview for the internship at Saturday Night Live. So I took a bus from Virginia to New York, and I got there right in time, and I got in, and I was like, sorry, the bus was late, and they're like, where are you coming from? And I was like, Virginia. And they're like, how long was that bus trip? And I was like, 8 hours, and they were like, basically like, okay, well, you can have the internship then. Like,
oh my God.
So they kind of just gave it to me because I, took this huge trip to get there.
Oh my God.
Which is a great lie to say, I guess, if you want.
They see you coming up from the subway.
Yeah.
You're eating a hot dog.
Man, I just walked here. Florida.
So you worked intimately with Lorne Michaels?
No, well, I was his intern. When I first got the job, they were saying, all right, just keep your head down. Try not to be, noticed. And don't let them know that you do comedy. Because they don't want comedy people, doing those jobs.
Sure.
So I literally didn't say a word to him the entire, first semester.
Yeah.
And then they brought me back because they were like, "You did a great job. So you can come back and not talk for another."
That's great.
But it got me into the Page program because I had a letter of recommendation from his office. So
right.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But otherwise, I mean, you have to go through. I mean, it's something like I think 50,000 people a year. Try to get in.
I have to imagine now, since 30 Rock, now that people are aware that there's something like Kenneth the Page who gets to hang out and people know him and stuff. Not that you get to interact, like you said, it was a lot of being quiet. I'm sure. Mm-hmm. I know that was Lorne, but I'm sure you still kind of have to keep your tongue loose and down. What does that mean?
Loose and down, yeah.
The old expression, keep your tongue loose and down.
It's like that old British poster. Yeah, keep your tongue loose and down.
Keep calm and keep it loose and down.
Loose and down.
So that's wonderful. What does your wife do now?
She works in digital development for Universal.
Okay. Yeah. So just in case, because I was mildly confused by that, and I'm in show business, you mean she works, people pitch things to her and that sort of thing? She doesn't develop digital film.
No. That's not a job.
Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to make those pictures pop up instantly.
And there's little people in the cameras.
Yeah. Well, I'm always just interested, as everybody knows that listens to the show, you're this guy, you're a comedy person, you tour, you pitch, you go, you have the ups and the downs of getting a pilot, getting a movie, doing this, doing that. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder who the partner for these sociopaths, which is us, should be. What is her temperament like? She's cool with all of this. You've gone through a lot of stuff. You've had 7 seasons of Whitest Kids?
We did 5. 5 seasons, yeah.
Okay, 5, and now touring?
Yep.
And, movies, and every pilot season, it sounds like you're getting something and in something, it seems to me. I mean, so she knows the ups and downs.
Well, she works on the other side of it.
So she gets it.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah.
But did she always? I mean,
no, she worked in talent booking at VH1 for a bit. Then she worked at MySpace. So she's kind of
in New York.
Yeah, in New York.
Okay.
So she's kind of
friends with Angela Bowers. Remember?
Maybe
she booked Best Week when
I'm sure she is.
Time ago.
I'm sure she is. Yeah.
Jim Caviezel. Yeah, sure. Kozlov. Okay, so she gets it from the other side, but it wasn't always the case. Like when you guys met, like she was with you during the even worse struggling time, like the really going from a page into comedy. What was that transition like with a girlfriend?
She was really great. She was always kind of had a better job than I did.
Yep.
So I feel like,
This sounds familiar. That happens. Yeah. It happened to me, and you're saying it happened to you, that somebody was the stable one.
Yes.
Especially during those crazy years.
Yeah. So she was very, and she's always been very, level-headed and, so put up with my nonsense and,
right. How are you as a person? Do you take things personally? Do you go down into the depths? Is it... I mean, like if something Kriegs and I talk about Miss March all the time. Mm-hmm. I know it didn't do well. Was that like a depressing thing, or were there other moments that are less?
Yeah, no,
well-known?
It was a bummer, that it didn't. People, I think people reviewers hated it,
right?
So that was kind of, I don't think I was prepared for the amount of scrutiny.
Yes,
because you're up until that point, and we were 27.
It's remarkable
when we wrote that thing.
Yeah,
but you're just doing this little deep cable show,
right?
And it's this fun thing that we can just kind of do whatever we want,
right?
And it's doing well, and people seem to like it, and it's great.
Yeah.
So then we did a movie basically with the same kind of attitude, where we were like, this would be funny. We'll try this. We'll do this. So this worked. This didn't. This worked. This didn't.
Right,
kind of thing.
Right.
And then put it on, and then everybody was like, "You guys are horrible." Yeah, reviews were basically fuck you.
Yeah, they were brutal.
So I was like, whoa, okay, all right. It was a little, that was
because you flew the plane a little bit higher. Now you're in the motion picture business. I guess.
Which I don't think anyone told me that, or I just wasn't smart enough to.
But aren't there? There's room. I look back on movies like UHF. That feels like Weird Al just doing whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, and I'm not saying your movie was a bad movie, but it seemed like people get to play around in the style that they're accustomed to,
right?
And it's not always destroyed.
Yeah. Well, another thing is I'm in no way saying that our movie was good, but we were also very young and not. We might have been given a little more to chew than a little more workload than we should have been doing at that point.
Right.
Because at the same time we were also doing seasons. We were finishing up writing on season. We were finishing up post-production on season 2, mm-hmm. and writing season 3, and doing the movie all at the same time. So it was kind of I think, and some things fell through the cracks.
When you were doing it, did you get a lot of people that were loving it? And by the way, I didn't hate it. I saw it in the theaters, and I remember when your two names came up as the writers, directors as well.
Yeah.
Written and directed by you guys, my heart really freaked out. It overwhelmed me, so I can't imagine what that was like.
Right.
These two guys that I knew making a movie was fucking freaky. But when you were doing it, sometimes I say it's hard to see the forest for the trees or whatever. Did it just seem like everything was fine, or did you start to get a feeling that it wasn't going to come out what people wanted?
No, we were kind of. It was really frantic, and it was sort of. And my view on the movie is that there's some things that really worked, like scenes that really worked, and then there's some scenes that just don't work at all.
I can't forget the scene where Zach wakes up from the coma. I really
I like
laugh
that
about that scene.
Yeah.
And every time I see Zach, I laugh at that scene. Like, I'm still laughing. And he's told me all about how some of it was digital and some of it was real. It kills me. It was one of the biggest laughs for me of the movie, for sure.
Yeah, there's like scenes that I really, really like and I'm proud of in that thing, but it's not a consistent movie in any way. And like, there's scenes that aren't good and there's scenes that are good, and then there's my character is a very unlikable character in the movie. Like, we just were kind of like, so you don't like him.
Yeah,
which is
that's
an
that
attitude
studio note. Yeah. That's why it's a stereotypical studio note to be like, make him likable, make him good at his job.
Yeah.
These are things that they have the numbers.
Yeah, and as a 27-year-old, I'm like, why?
Yeah. That's so funny. I didn't even consider that, but looking back, I'm like, yeah, that's true. Like, it's hard to root for a guy that you don't necessarily like as a character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But doesn't it have a pretty good cult following? I still see it.
I'm surprised. It's like it.
I still see it like Netflix or whatever Apple. It gets popped up every once in a while.
Kids come up to me and say that like they really like it, but I feel like there's somebody out there that likes every movie.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Somebody loves Leprechaun 2.
There's people out there that Face Off is their favorite movie.
That is so fucking fantastic.
You're a big Drive fan, right?
I do love Drive. That's one of my favorite films.
You have a great poster here.
I've swapped to The Master. Is my current obsession. I love it so much. I actually got to do a movie. I just saw Luca Jones, and I did a movie with Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
Very, very small scene, just one day. Like, my scene probably took 20 minutes to shoot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once they were like on me, you know how cameras are. They turned it around on me 20 minutes and we
20
were
20-minute scene, that's pretty good. That's like a long part of the movie.
I love that feeling. Like, that's such a rare joke for me. Or not really, but like, you reel me in and I'm like, oh, Trevor's confused. What is he talking about? And then something in your face just betrays that you're kidding. And that was so fucking funny to me. But I can't stop watching that movie. The reason I brought up the movie that I was in with Joaquin, if I had seen The Master before that, I would have had a much, much harder time. Not that I didn't respect him or think he was the coolest, which I did. But I would have been freaking out because I love his performance specifically.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
I saw that movie and I wasn't really I didn't really like love the story of that movie.
Yeah.
But like him in that movie, you're like, oh, so everybody else that acts isn't that good as an actor. He's like that good that you're like, oh, and then everybody else is kind of not as good as him.
Right. I feel like there aren't that many roles maybe for that sort of thing, but he definitely took it and knocked it out of the park. But when you say like the story, it also brought it back to a time when I think that films weren't necessary. There Will Be Blood's the same thing. It's probably my favorite movie. People are like, nothing happens, and I'm like, it's all inside. You know what I mean? It's like a Victorian novel. It's all happening on the inside, and everything's significant. And the more I watch The Master, the more I realize, and the more I read about Scientology, the more I realize what's happening. And it very closely mirrors a very interesting time in Scientology to me, which was that Dianetics was pretty widely accepted. Like, it wasn't that bonky. When you and I talk about Scientology going sideways and just being a really weird cult thing, we're not really talking
Which we never have. We've never talked about that.
Are you a Scientologist? I would love to have a Scientologist on the show.
No, but
I'm in show business and I have all these guests and we get to the religion part. Every once in a while I feel like they might be withholding because they don't want to say it.
I would love to be a Scientologist for like a month. But I don't think you can get out. But like, I would just be fascinated.
Trevor, what you just said is so close to my heart. Like any like system of belief is interesting to me.
Yeah.
No matter how crazy it is.
Yeah.
Please keep going on that idea.
Well, I mean, like,
you get in too deep. You're afraid they're going to persuade you to stay.
Well, I don't think they'd persuade me to stay, but
they might. But smarter people than you dabbled
and then got
stepped
stuck
in it.
Yeah,
it's happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be fascinated. I go past that giant blue building all the time.
Me
and I
too.
just want nothing more than to be inside of it. Like, I want to go. I want to see what it's like in there. It's like a club that I'm not invited to.
You're so close to my heart. I feel the same way when I'm in Utah and I see the temple or see any Mormon temple. I'm like, I want in.
Yeah.
Show me the dragon.
Yeah.
You know they have a dragon in there. I want to see what's happening. I want to know what makes rational people, intelligent people, give up everything. You and I wouldn't be caught dead walking into a Scientology center, you know what I mean? Or that's a little extreme, but you'd at least be self-conscious and aware, you know what I mean? What if your friends see you, or like, how do you even feel about yourself doing it?
Yeah.
But like, the truth is, anything like that is interesting to me. That's my sports. You know what I mean? And that's the weird team that plays with 2 gloves on their hands. You know what I mean? Like, and I want to see what they're up to.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's got to be such a. It's just like it's like going to a different country. It has to be.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get to go home at the end of the day. I don't know. I just feel
Right.
like it would be a fast. Every religion has people who are just kind of sort of into it. You know, kind of. You know, like. There has to be, right? There has to be the people who are like...
There are people in Scientology, they're like,
Yeah, like their parents were Scientologists.
Right.
And they're like, they don't want to go to, Sunday school or whatever
Right.
that Scientologist Sunday school is. And that I would love...
Scientologist Sunday School, by the way, is working on a boat for 12 years. Like
No, it's like
scrubbing
12 million
toilets.
years,
Yeah,
isn't it?
well,
Isn't it like a contract?
It's a 12... You're right. It's
Yeah.
a billion-year contract, but I think maybe around 18, 19, maybe you can get off the boat. I don't know if that's true. But
Okay, that's a worse Sunday
They
school.
don't have flannel graph.
That is a worse Sunday school.
They have scrubbing. So you keep going. I'm sorry.
No, but I mean, I would like to be like, I'd like to go into all these religions and be like there for like a little bit,
Yeah.
and then be able to leave. You know,
That's exactly what I've been saying for so long. You're so close to my heart for having said that. The same thing with Christian Science, Jehovah's Witness. To even get weirder, what I was talking to Duncan Trussell, like what I don't know, but what was Charles Manson was like had some interesting.
I would have
points.
loved to be in the Manson
That's
family.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Before it went crazy, like
Right.
these things go crazy, and that's what's so interesting about the Master to me is you take a guy who's just interested in lifting all these self-help ideas from other places, which is fine. I'm not saying he should have thought of them ex nihilo, out of nowhere.
Right.
It's fine to borrow from other places. And then he puts them all in this book, adding some of his own flavor and stuff, and being like, you can do therapy to each other, and here's how. And then people do it, and people get good results and stuff. And it reminds me of like improv exercises. Like you, Trevor, and I are going to sit across from each other and stare at each other in the eye, and you can't react no matter what I say. I'm like, fuck religion. I just want to do that. Like I would want to do that with somebody and just see if I could not react to somebody being like, you're a fat piece of shit. No one thinks you're funny. Your mom hates you, or whatever it is. And I just have to sit there. But then like at a certain point, it kind of like Scientology specifically adds more and more and more and more, and you start to see, in my interpretation, the corruption of the leader's mind. Like leaders, the Source family, Manson certainly, something goes crazy, something clicks, they start fucking everything.
Right.
They start marrying more and more things. They start. Why wouldn't you believe you're a god when you literally have a following? You have a flock, and they all believe that your word is inspired, and that whatever you say. It almost seems like a test. Like you're like, okay, everyone has to work on a boat for 18 years and sign a billion-year contract, and they do it. That's going to make you start writing some crazier stuff. That's going to inform. It's not going to be. I'm not saying Dianetics is like a great book, but when people like make fun of it, I'm like, I think it's just basically like Tony Robbins. You know what I mean? It's a similar sort of thing. But then, like, you start getting to that godlike status. Yeah. People, hippies liked it. In the 60s, like it was a popular thing. But that's what's interesting is so many people that like started in the church, and that to me is what the Master is about. They come in for the kernel of truth or whatever it is that did help them. Even if it's a silly game where we just slap each other for 20 minutes. It's called slap therapy. If that helps you let go of social anxiety, who fucking cares if I just made it up? It doesn't matter. But then they keep adding onto it and onto it and onto it, and then you have the church that you have today.
Yeah.
There's actually something called free zone Scientologists, and there are people that only kind of like consider it. It's like any religion.
Really? It's like there's like the Vatican I Scientology.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Exactly. They have dissenters. They have like Lutherans, you know, like that like are like we're breaking away from this and you got it wrong and L. Ron Hubbard meant this and he didn't mean that and that was when he was corrupted and this is before he was corrupted.
I wonder if we could join them for a month because they're probably more
very hard to find them.
Really?
I'm like, if you look at what I've Googled, when I'm reading a book about Scientology, every time I hit something like free zone Scientologist or whatever, my Google history is just those words. Anytime a new name comes up or just Google it. It just like, so if they're flagging my computer, they're like, this guy's on the outskirts. We got to reel him in. But it's harder to find this because the church shuts those down.
Yeah.
They consider them a threat to the church. So they really do they have a lot of money and a lot of power to shut those things down.
I'm always fascinated by the amount of power that you know, because I always just thought that those stories were sort of like, okay, all right, you know.
Right.
But then I had this weird, when I first moved to LA, I was filming something on the street, just like it was like a little comedy bit, and I was across the street from the UCB Theater, and which is where the Scientology Celebrity Center is.
Right.
And I was just on the street.
Right.
And they came out, and they were like, you have to leave. And I was like, I'm on the street, I'm sidewalk, you know, like, and
Right.
they were like, no, you have to leave, and they were kind of really, like, kind of pushy about it.
We wearing suits?
No, I wasn't.
No, I mean the guys.
Oh, yeah. No, it was like the security guards. And so I was like, okay, all right, we'll leave. And they kind of were like menacing. And so I went across the street to the Gelson's parking lot, and I got in my car, and all of a sudden they swooped in on bikes, and they went to write down my license plate.
No.
Yeah, but I had just moved to LA, so my car, I had just gotten this car, and it didn't have a license plate on it.
Ha, suck it.
So I was like, ha, yeah. So I like flipped them off. I was like, ha ha. I don't have a license plate. You know, what are you doing? Why are you harassing me? And
You flipped them off?
yeah, I was like, no license plate.
You're
you know?
king of us.
But then I was driving, and they followed me. Like, they all of a sudden, I was driving, and I had other people in the car, and I was like, am I crazy, or are these black, like, kind of SUV things following us? And they're like, no, like, this thing is totally following us. And then we tried to, you know...
You tried to lose them?
Yeah, we tried to do maneuvers to lose them.
Maneuvers?
Yeah, and we drove all the way to LAX before we were sure that they were gone. Like, they chased us out of the city, basically.
Oh my God, because you didn't want to go home.
Right, because I didn't know what was going on. I've never been followed. By a
Yeah,
car.
what do you do?
Yeah, you just drive to LAX.
Get on a plane
yeah.
and never come back. And they're like, well, that worked.
But then I went to my agent's office, and I was talking to him. I was like, a weird thing happened to me the other day. Like, I was out in front of the Celebrity Center, and
Yes.
the Scientologist started chasing me, and he jumped up, he bolted out of his chair, slammed the door, and said, "Don't fuck with the Scientologists." And I was like, I wasn't. I was just shooting a video, like, near their property like that. And he's just like, just don't. And I was like, really shocked that I was like, really? That's a real... They must have some sort of power.
Now I'm afraid for what we said.
I know. Well, I mean, it's all... We want to join.
I know we are basically
We're
saying
positive.
it sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I am saying that it seems like it gets a little bit more. Now I'm just trying to backtrack. I did say crazy and culty. Who gives a fuck? I've said all
This
that
one's just going to have
before.
all these bleeps.
The electric cigarette bar gone. All that stuff gone. That's wild. But let me put this to you, and I bet we have this in common. Again, going back to us both being raised religious. And I really want to get into that, of course. But the feeling of unpopular faith always seems like alluring to me. Being a kid who went to high school and received a certain amount of ostracizing because he was like the Christian kid, now... Utah was a big thing for me. When I went to Utah and I saw these people that lost their families and were discommunicated from their old churches and their old lives, but they did it to become Mormons. Like they wanted
Right.
to be Latter-day Saints so badly that they didn't care what it looked like or what this is what I believe. That's always intoxicating to me. So if somebody's like, fuck everything, I'm a Scientologist, I don't give a shit what you think. That sort of...
It's the conviction.
the conviction, it turns me on.
Yeah.
Is that similar to you? Being
Yeah.
somebody, a Christian person, you know the difficulty sometimes it is to like stick to your faith and proclaim your faith and be like, fuck all y'all, I'm with Jesus or whatever. That's an embarrassing thing and a difficult thing. So I respect it in other people, even if I don't agree with their like ideologies.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's like... There's an appeal to like something that's so crazy that you're like, maybe like I hang out on a like a bunch of like weird like conspiracy sort of message boards a lot, and and there's this group on this one board that I hang out that's just, they're insane, and they're called sun gazers, and they kind of think that they can just sort of stare at the sun.
That's what Source Family did that too.
Oh, really?
Stare at
And
the sun.
get all their nutrients from it. Like they think you don't have to eat; you can just kind of stare at the sun.
Why, it goes through your eyes?
Yeah, it's kind of like plants, like a photosynthesis thing. I don't know what. It's a crazy thing. And you know, every now and then they're talking about like, oh, my eyesight's not getting so well. And, you know, I'm like, they're like going blind and stuff because they're staring at the sun.
Right.
But I'm kind of like, nah, what if they're right? You know, like. How do
Well, as you're saying that, Trevor, I don't know if this is a virtue or my biggest handicap. I'm open to both. But as you're saying that, I'm kind of like, Well, the Source family people did that, and they seem to get good results. And plants do get it from photosynthesis. And then I'm like, maybe that's what Jesus was doing, and Buddha, all these guys for the 40-day fastings in the wilderness that they both did.
Out of the desert.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe they were staring at the sun. Maybe there is something to it. I mean, like, we believe that we get it from our skin. I put my arm out because I was just at Disneyland and I got a lot of sun.
It cures depression.
10 minutes of unprotected sunlight gives you all the vitamin D you need in a day. That's my fun fact. But I mean, like, so we are getting a lot from it. We're all here for the sun. Sun worship. Stare at
Makes
the sun.
a lot of sense. Sun worship makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's why, like, the first things everybody worshipped was the sun. Well,
Right.
I mean, that's kind of why you exist.
Right. And it is why you exist.
Yeah.
Like, if you're an atheist and you're missing some sort of spiritual ritual in your life, just worship the sun. It's there. It's definitely there.
Yeah.
Even at night, it's just on the other side. I just learned that. I thought it turned itself off like a cartoon.
It becomes the moon at night. What are you talking about?
You know, there are early scripts that definitely said that. The sun turns into the moon. And then one guy watches it go down. He's like, well, I see both at the same time. Have you seen the moon lately? It's fucking crazy moon.
It's a super moon right
We got
now.
the super moon.
Yeah.
That moon was awesome. I went out and chased that moon. I love that moon. I can't get enough
It
of
always
that moon.
weirds me out when we have both. When we have the sun and the moon.
At the same time?
Yeah, because I'm like, what's going on the other side of the...
They got nothing.
They got nothing. That
It's
just doesn't-
Alaska.
Yeah.
They just got nothing. But somewhere, okay, well, let's get into this a little bit. You grew up in like a church band.
Well, my parents were Christian folk musicians.
Were you going to say rockers?
Well, they kind of transitioned to rock like in the 80s. So
They did?
yeah, well, they did a rock album, but
They have multiple albums.
yeah, they had the #2 Christian song in the country for a while. In the
What
80s.
is it? What
it's
if I-
called "Love Song for #2." But
Love song for #2 and it went to #2?
Yep.
There is a God.
yeah,
That's crazy.
but yeah, so I lived on the road with them in like a motorhome. Like we would just travel around and tour.
Just the three of you?
No, my sister too. My
Okay,
sister.
that would be weird to leave her.
Yeah.
Younger sister?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we did that till we did like kind of like full time till I was 8, and then off and on until I was like 12.
You had a job till you were 8.
Right. I ran the merchandise table.
Well, you didn't sing.
Oh, I sang.
You sold merch.
Oh yeah, I was the merch guy. I was a roadie. I was the 8-year-old roadie.
I mean, that's got to work.
Yeah.
Cute little kid.
Yeah.
Buy a T-shirt.
And I would make 10 cents for every album I sold, so that was like my allowance too. So I got a commission.
Oh, did you hustle?
Oh yeah, I'd offer deals. Well, you can get 5 for
Oh, an 8-year-old?
yeah.
This is where you learned your charisma. That's great.
Yeah, so I did that, and I had they had one song that I would sing in. I had a part, and then when I was 6, I quit. I was like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't like it.
You got out of it.
Yeah, I bailed. I actually, it was during one of the shows, and I remember this. I was sitting in the front, and at a certain point, my mom calls me on stage, and I'm supposed to come up and then sing my part, and I was in a bad mood or something, so she's like, all right, Trevor's gonna come on stage. And I'm like, I don't want to. And I just yelled, I didn't want to. And then she was like, oh, but this is the part of the show where you come up. And I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. And
How many people are watching?
It's like, I mean, God, I can't remember. I mean,
A full...
to a 6-year-old's perspective,
Yeah.
it was like
A million.
Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And I was saying, I don't want to do it anymore. And my parents were like, okay, I guess we're going to skip that song. And I was like, I don't want you guys to do it anymore either. I want to go home.
Oh, my God.
And so my mom...
Was there a gasp? Could
Yeah.
people
Oh,
hear?
yeah. And so my mom and dad on stage were like, "Okay, Trevor, all right." And then
Cool it, buddy.
And then I walked up on stage, and my parents were like, "Okay, do you want to do the song?" And I was like, "No, I want to go home." And I threw a fit.
There's
And
a light misfiring and a red spotlight hits you and little horns from backstage. I want to go.
Yeah. Well, so my mom takes me backstage. She's just like, "I'm going to go talk to you backstage," and I'm throwing a fit. So she spanked me. But she's mic'd, so everyone in the audience can hear it, and it's huge applause, like standing ovation.
No. She spanked you on mic.
Yeah.
And they applauded it.
Whole Madison Square Garden to a
Standing
6-year-old.
ovation.
Yeah.
They loved it.
It should have been the closer.
They should have manufactured it
Every night. Just spank the kid at the end of the show.
I mean, you're just backstage clapping. Ow, ow! I would give $1,000 cash to time travel just to that. That might be my number one time travel. It used to be Meet the Lord, and now it's go to that moment in time. Fucking Naked Gun style forgets her love is on and spanks you.
Yep.
And you're crying.
And it killed.
And it killed. Nothing's killed that hard in show business before or since than the hurting of a small boy who wanted to go home. And you had like a valid point. You're like, I don't want to live on the road. I'm sick.
Well, honestly, I probably meant to the Holiday Inn or to the motorhome.
Right,
I probably just wanted to watch something on TV. Like, I was probably missing a show I liked.
She spanked you. Oh my God, that is great. So, okay, do they still do it?
No, not really. She's a teacher, and my dad's a graphic designer.
They still love the Lord, though.
Yes.
Now that's the thing you and I have talked about many times, is that you still love the Lord. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I don't believe in a hell or
good place to start. I really mean that. It's like if you're sitting down with somebody, you want to break it down real fast.
Yeah, I don't like. My religious take is that I have no idea what happens when you die, and I think that anyone who really thinks that they do know what happens when they die is crazy. Because there's no way to know.
Well, as a grown man, that point that Bill Maher makes in Religulous, I took a lot of comfort in that, in the idea, now that I feel like a fully formed human, like not a child anymore, I'm like, oh, the people telling other people what definitely happened are also just like me, like flesh and blood and failed, like they have failings in their brain and they can't possibly know because they're just some schmo.
Right.
It's a great Bill Burr bit. It's like the guy on stage, the preacher, just some dude. He likes soccer. He eats nachos. You know what I mean? And he's up there being like, "You're gonna burn," or not burn, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's a healthy interpretation.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think the idea of hell doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I hope there's not a heaven. Just
like a traditional sense.
Oh God, to be around forever.
Yeah,
that would be terrible. I can't think of anything. When I was a kid and I thought that there was a heaven, my whole MO, my plan when I was a kid was like, all right, well, I got to be good. I got to get into heaven. And then, however long it takes, I'll wait in line so I can talk to God. And
there's a line in heaven.
There's got to be. I mean,
yes, because you're thinking of the Easter Bunny.
Yeah, it's like, exactly, yeah.
It's
so
the mall.
I'll wait my turn. I'll eventually
You'll sit on his lap, get a photo.
If it takes 1,000 years, it's going to take 1,000 years. There's no time anymore, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
And then when I get to God, I'll just be like, hey, I'd really rather just not exist. Is that, can I just not,
Wait, you had that thought as a child?
Yeah, the idea of, infinity is a terrifying concept.
It is a terrifying concept. Infinity in the midst of ego, I think, is the problem.
Well, also infinity not understanding, as a kid, that, infinity just really means no time. So there isn't really any time. It's just kind of some state of constant,
right?
Stasis. So it wouldn't actually feel like, I would imagine, if
it's
an
release.
infinite thing, you're kind of outside of you're outside of a third dimension POV, so time isn't really what it is here.
Yeah,
but I was like, I don't want to. The whole idea of living forever is just the worst thing I can imagine.
That's with you, with consciousness, with ego being, I am Trevor Moore, I am dead, I'm in heaven. This is boring as fuck.
Yeah.
That guy's doing magic. I hate this. You know what I mean? But the idea of death, I really relish the idea of the death of the ego, that disappearing when you die, and then some sort of essence. This is my, if we're doing our favorite end of life scenario, is that your ego dies, so you lose that sense of I'm a man, I'm a male human, I'm a white guy, 6'6", or whatever.
Smoker.
I'm a smoker and I love Face Off and punk rock. All that goes away. What's left is just the truest essence of myself, and then that thing floats around and explores like just an infinite sort of universe thing.
Without any memories from Earth?
I don't think so. Why would I be troubled? I'm barely troubled with them now. Right. I mean, like, it's all burning.
Yeah. Well, that's good, because then, it's kind of like, well, good for whatever that thing is, my soul or whatever, but, like, if my memories aren't there, then I'm not really going to exist, so that'd be good for my soul, but I really don't have a dog in the race.
Yeah, I think you're right, and that's interesting. I guess I guess I am looking forward to some sort of death. Like a lot of my atheist friends hate the idea that when they die, all the knowledge, all the experience, and all the memories that they have are just erased.
Really?
It's like this really depressing, like you just spilled water on your laptop and it sizzles and fries and it's gone. But I'm kind of like, there's something also kind of beautiful about sweeping all that away, because isn't all of this an illusion? It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's all pretend. There's no day. There was no podcast.
None of
no
this is
meme
actually
meeting.
happening.
Well, I mean, do you have any weird thoughts like that?
Oh, yeah.
Detachment to this whole thing?
Well, you know, I don't know. At a certain point, the entire universe has to collapse in on itself or something, right? And then
Wait, is that agreed?
I don't know. I think that's a theory, you know.
Yeah, okay.
But then at some point, time stops. And so then did any of it really happen at all?
Time stops?
It's got to.
Why?
Because, or unless it's infinite.
Okay, I guess I see what you're saying. And it doesn't seem probable that it would be infinite.
I don't know.
I mean, no, this is great. I'd like to point out that neither of us are smoking pot. But like I like that sort of experiment. I think what I mean is, we talk about the cosmic joke a lot, the idea that existence itself is kind of funny and absurd. Like some people, most of the funny people I know have an appreciation just for the fact that that we have another day and that we're walking around and things are happening. If you can step outside of that, it's just absurd and kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like I had my broker told me some bad financial news. It wasn't horrible, but he was like, I'm going to make these numbers up. He's like, you lost $1,000 yesterday. And I just laughed. And like, I don't think he's gotten that before. And it's not because I'm like Johnny Rich pockets. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm like, that's so weird to me.
Yeah.
Because the stock market is actually a pretty good analogy for how I feel about everything. I don't quite understand it. There's numbers and there's rules and there's things happening and there's this pulse underneath that I'll never, like, what were people on that floor yelling and screaming and the pieces of paper and Bane is there. You know, like I don't get it.
Yeah.
So it just seems like a joke to me. That's kind of how I feel about existence. I don't get what's happening, so it all seems pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like-
and at the end of the day, none of it really matters.
That's the weird thing
Like,
that we dabble with touching. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, if you go macro enough, nothing matters.
And that's what's insane.
That's kind of cool, though.
Okay, we can either be liberated by that or we can be cold and alone and wet and sad.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if you are cold and alone and wet and sad.
I mean, now you're really baking with soda. I mean, that's fucking crazy. But I mean, do you have existential crises about life being meaningless, especially being injected with life having so much meaning? Growing up and believing, like me, that you need to pray to Jesus a specific prayer and you'll live forever and the other people burn forever sort of thing. You get this amazing narrative.
The stakes are pretty high.
High stake narrative. And then going to the other land, it can sometimes feel lonely. I think that's why we sometimes have a melancholy and a romanticizing of those beliefs. And that's why I cling to them. You know what I mean? Despite, like, you can make any argument. And I know you can too. I talked to you at that party in Bridgetown, I think. And I was like, I had just learned about it. And you knew about them all. I was like, well, what about the way that the Christ story mirrors this hero's journey and this? And you knew about all of them. And I was like, oh, Trevor knows all that shit. But you still maintain a little bit of the association with a Christian guy.
Well, it's like, I think there's positive things about a lot of religions, you know, but you know, it's hard to tell. I feel like whatever most people see as Christianity today is probably very, very far from what it originated as. And to the point where, I mean, now it's just sort of, you know, like, you know, the hell thing. I don't know when that got added, you know, or you know, and it's hard to tell where things got put in, you know. So it's just, I don't know. I have no idea what happened.
I just watched an interesting movie. It was called Hellbound. I can't stop watching. If there's something about like the afterlife or people's interpretations of it, and I didn't want to watch it because I was afraid that it was just going to be like compelling arguments for hell. I was like, the whole thing. It's just 2 hours of like, no, it's hell. It actually talks a little. You might want to watch it. It's on Apple TV. It talks a little bit about when we added the narrative of Lucifer being a fallen angel who rules hell and that eternal fire sort of thing, where, you know, I've said this on the show many times because it's something that I had to look into, but Jesus never saying hell, never talking about hell the way every pastor does today. The sales hook, the thing to get you in, is afterlife insurance now, which is the cheapest, most flimsy fucking crap toy faith You buy it in one of those machines, the bubble machines in the back of the grocery store for $0.25. It's garbage faith where you're just like, I was told I would burn forever, so here I am.
It's not making you a good person.
No.
It's just hedging your bets.
It's making you a worse person, actually. You're just kind of like shallow and a new type of selfish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you're like, and empowered. Like, I don't die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it kind of, I mean, and it probably in some cases kind of taking a little joy in like, well, everyone's going to hell
sure.
me.
I remember in weaker moments probably having feelings similar to that, being like, well, I don't have to worry. But I also remember a feeling, a nagging feeling deep down that I didn't really believe if you pushed me hard enough.
Yeah.
You know
and I think as a lot of kids try to, like, they're like, well, I have to believe.
Right.
Or I'm going to go to hell.
Yes.
Oh, try really hard to believe. Try really hard to believe.
Right.
But, there's, for when I was a kid, the thing that I had a huge problem with was, like, the Adam and Eve story.
Sure.
It's just like that. I even as a little kid, I just don't think that happened. That didn't happen, kind of thing. And that would bother me as a kid because I would be like, well, if I don't believe that, does that mean I'm going to go to hell? Like, and so.
But did you run into that later? I mean, like, a lot of Christians I know don't believe that literally happened. In fact, I would say 99% of them.
Yeah. But it's in there. So that's the thing. I mean, it's like.
Yeah, it's in there, but I mean. No, I agree with you. It is in there. And there are a lot of people, I think, in America, I think are most of them, that have a literal interpretation, be like, it was Adam and Eve and there was a snake. But like, for me, that stopped pretty early on. We realized that it was a story about not how God created the world, but a story that God created the world. And because it's unknowable and ununderstandable, that was the poem that was written to help us kind of like grasp that God created the world. Did you run into that later? Did you have friends that kind of opened that up for you?
No, I mean, I never really. I mean, I've heard that, sure. Later on, but I mean, I think the church or community that I was in, it was never really stressed that wasn't real.
Interesting.
That was not laid out that this is not real. This was kind of, this is all gospel.
Right.
Right. And
that's a danger. That's a crazy, crazy place. And I don't mean any disrespect to people that believe that, but like, it just, anybody say, like, it goes back to what you said, anything with any certainty, I think you might be kind of nuts. Like, that's a nutty position. Yeah. I understand the appeal of it, a black and white perspective, but the gospel thing, and it's in there and I believe it, that does it, God said it sort of thing, is scary to me.
Yeah, it's anything, taking religion too literally all around anywhere.
Right.
It's just a bad idea.
I think the current religious discussion I like to have, and I was just saying this to a good friend of mine who also grew up religious, and we were talking about the idea that, like, for me, any sort of biblical or spiritual debate, if you want to look at the Bible and be like, there had to be the following means of exploring it. One, maybe it means what it says, what it's saying. You know what I mean? Let's say Jesus saying it's harder for a man to get through the eye of the needle or for a rich man to go to heaven. Mm-hmm. That's just a good verse that people debate about. One, that's true. Jesus said it. That's true. Rich people don't go to heaven. Okay. Two, we can be like, well, he says the kingdom of heaven, so he doesn't even really mean heaven the way that we're talking about. Now we're discussing it as if it's still real, and it was recorded as said and all that sort of stuff. So I think we can interpret it and we can debate it, and maybe it means this, and maybe it's a condition of your heart, and he's just talking about becoming in the community of believers or whatever. And then three, and I think this is essential, and I only got this recently, is you need to be able to say, or he never said it and it never happened. Like that has to be on the table. You have and most people that do that with a lot of things. If you want to be a universalist and say everybody goes to heaven and there is no hell, you're with some verses and stuff, you are kind of being like, well, I'm being lenient with this. I'm not interpreting that as hardcore as other people. And then the people that are being hardcore aren't interpreting the universal verses as hardcore. You know what I mean? They're being lenient on those. So everybody's kind of doing it. I just want to be in the open. You know what I mean? This is my cult. We're going to take the best parts of Scientology, the best parts of the Manson family, the best parts of the Christian Scientist, Jehovah's Witness, Hare Krishna. It doesn't matter. All of it in here. And at the base of it, you're allowed to be like, or it's all bullshit at any moment.
Yeah.
That's the only healthy spiritual discussion, I think. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, a schmo just like you wrote it down. some schmo like you. Have you ever met a guy that you would like trust all the secrets of the universe to?
Yeah.
Some fucking guy.
And tons of people are writing different stuff down all the time. And
Right.
at some point they had to just be like, all right, this one's real, this one's not, this one's real, this one's not, and that's just, and those were just schmoes.
Yes,
You know?
schmoes.
Yeah.
That was a big thing. Carlton something, the guy who lost his huge congregation because he became a universalist, and he said, I believe that gay people are okay and people are going to heaven, and there is no such thing as like an eternal conscious torment hell sort of thing. He started with what you're talking about, which was the canonization of the Bible. When we had all the writings, we've declared it the official religion sort of thing, and now we're going to make the Bible. When people hold up the Bible and be like, this is the word of God, and people pray on the Bible, that's a collection of letters and stories that were scattered all over.
It's now that's what I call gospels. It's a best stuff.
Yes! That is great. That's completely true. And other tracks got cut.
Yeah.
And there were people pushing for them. There were, I remember there were stories about a young Jesus turning his friends into goats. That's an extra biblical story or an apocryphal story. And there was a guy that really wanted the fucking Jesus goat story in there. And then some other guy, also drinking a little bit too much wine, was like, I don't know, it's a cooler story if he disappears between 13 and 30. Isn't it?
Yeah.
It was for Superman. You know what I mean? Like they made it.
Yeah.
They turned it into a thing, and I think maybe they had good intentions. I was just,
Or not.
or not.
Who knows?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I was just talking to Vikram. Vikram Gandhi was this guy who did the movie Kumare, and he was telling me about one of these cults has this like epic book that was written in the 40s. I'm forgetting what it was called, but it's hundreds and hundreds of pages long. The story is very, very similar to The Hobbit. There's a lot of like hobbits in it. It spans millions and millions of years. There's all these epic galactic battles. Has many, many authors, and he was just talking about how this one commune, or you can say cult if you want. It's all right. His phone rang. All gather around and read that story. And I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. Maybe it just gives people comfort. You know what I mean? Maybe that was their intention, was like, let's make the right book. Or it was control. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't have too many.
I think it's probably, a lot of religious stuff is both.
Yeah, sure.
Like dying is scary. People are afraid of dying.
Yep.
And then a lot of at some point, the Christianity became this thing that was beneficial to the government at the time.
Yes.
And it became a control thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like today it's still used as by some people it's used as a way to get people to vote a certain way.
And it works.
Yeah.
And that's a new thing. Fundamentalist Christianity is relatively new in our history, and it really, really works.
Yeah.
Because there's something appealing about a guy like Jerry Falwell or whatever, scary guy. Like, believe me, I am not on that guy's side.
Right.
But a scary guy breaking it down really clear, being like, look, here's the now that's what I call gospel, and I'm only going to play you a couple tracks, but I'm going to play them loud, and we're going to dance and do ecstasy.
Yeah.
And people are like, you took something mysterious that we're supposed to be wrestling with, really boiled it down. That's all I want, but like I can't have it done that way, I suppose.
Sorry, I thought I turned that.
Who is it? Is it Jesus?
I don't know.
Trevor, please
Oh,
stop.
we're in trouble.
Is it Scientologist?
That'd be
So
awesome.
where are you now? I like you have children with your kids, with your wife.
I don't.
If you do,
If I do, yeah.
what are you going to do?
You mean religious wise?
Yeah, what does your wife want to do?
I think we would probably just say, look, I just be honest. Like, I don't know what happens. I mean, it all comes down. I don't know what happens when you die. Like, I think that this is probably not right, and I think that this is probably not right. I think these elements are beneficial, and are actually teaching good things.
Sure.
But don't you don't want a kid overly feeling that they're bad. Or that that everything that they do is being
Watched,
judged,
evaluated. Yeah,
I had a very hard. When I was a kid, I do have obsessive compulsive disorder, and
you still have it.
yeah. And as a kid, it was very, very bad because I was also in a very, very religious community. And so you're thinking that, God is watching and God can talk to people. And I think that's a scary thing to kind of introduce, is that when God directly talks to people. But so when I had like OCD stuff, it was hard for me to differentiate if it was, is this God telling me to touch the stove? Is this, is this, and I wasn't really sure what it was. And so then, like, when I would talk about it, and like, I've really got something going on up here that's not, that's problematic, I got sent to a Christian psychiatrist. Because everything that, it like went to Christian school, like, everything was like Christian. So the Christian psychiatrist would just be like, well, you should just pray to God that, these kind of things will go away. But then you can't do that because you're still asking, you're still talking to a disembodied voice.
Yeah,
kind of
you're
thing.
using one disembodied voice to get rid of another.
Yeah, which is a terrible.
Voice.
Yeah,
and it's also, you're reminding me of how scary it is as a kid to pray for something really specific to go away, and the heartbreak of it not being answered, like kind of magically and immediately,
right?
The way you'd expect in a movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. For me, it was anxiety. I'd be like praying for God to like calm me down, and then it was like not working.
Yeah,
that was what was so nice for me about meditation. Was I was like I used to ask for it, and now you actually have something to do to kind of manufacture it. But so keep going. So you'd pray for the voice to go away. What does this voice say?
Well, it's not even a voice. It's just, it's just more of like...
like an obvious question. I didn't mean it to be.
No, I mean, like, it, just kind of, you do this, or, your parents will be in a car accident.
Right.
Or do this, or,
this ritual prevents this.
You're going to get this, or something like that.
Right.
And...
when did it show up?
Around 12, probably.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like that's about the right time when your brain is really getting more power, getting a little bit smarter, and having more energy and more anxiety. Isn't it a symptom of anxiety?
I think it's in the umbrella of anxiety disorders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're an anxious fella, and then that gave you some control. And the mystic element of it kind of does make sense.
Well, it didn't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It didn't give me control. It just kind of made things worse, like the whole religious thing, So, and they kind of got fused together for me as I got older, and so kind of distancing myself from one. In order to distance myself from one, I almost had to distance myself from both.
Completely
kind of thing,
understand.
because they became intertwined, and they were the same thing to me.
Yeah. Sean Patton, you know Sean? Mm-hmm. He and I had a nice chat about OCD and getting it out of the way that it isn't just, but the mythical quality of it is that, like, you want to control some sort of outcome. What is your relationship with it now? Or are you medicated or?
No. I went on medication once for it, but it was the problem I had with the medication was that it made it hard to tell the difference between dreams and reality, which is a very scary thing to to have like very, very real dreams, and then
were the real dreams a symptom of the medication, or is that something you have anyway?
No, it was a medication thing, and then I was like, that's not worth it. So I just decided to try to like deal with it non-medicated.
Interesting. Yeah. And how does it feel? What is it like? Are you still dealing with like, I have to do this to prevent this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's something that goes away, but I think it's something that you just manage after a while.
Right.
Like, at this point, I've been dealing with it for 20 years.
Right.
So it's not as big of a hindrance in my life. I can I'm familiar with it, and I've kind of worked it into my routine, and it doesn't bother me as much as it did when I was younger.
Right.
It's still there, just the same amount, but I can ignore it a little better.
Ignore it, or are you yielding to it? Is the one way to get rid of its power just being like, look, I touched the top of the medicine cabinet in the morning?
It's both. Yeah. It's yielding to it, but then also setting up like boundaries, like, okay, all right, I know that this isn't a real thing.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to. Some things I'll do just because, you win some battles, you lose some battles.
Sure.
But I think I win more than I won when I was a kid.
It reminds me of the fervor that both of you and I share for some sort of like mystical thinking, where it's like we want to know what the Scientologists are up to. It's also hard to convince us, people like you and me,
that doing something isn't helping or isn't doing something good. You know, like I feel like I'm just a couple steps behind you is what I'm saying. I don't have OCD, but I understand that sort of thing where it's like you can't tell me that I'm not hurting anybody and this seems to help me and I believe in something bigger. It all feels kind of like God stuff.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's when I do yield to stuff now, like with like OCD, it's more of just like I just don't want to keep thinking about it.
Right.
You know, it's not so much that I believe that it's going to, like, if I don't touch this, that my like parents are going to, you know, die or something like that.
Sure.
It's not that. I mean, it's not that I really believe that's going to happen. It's just more that if I touch this and just keep on going with my day, if I touch this desk and keep going on with my day,
it's over.
I'll stop thinking about it.
Right.
Because otherwise, I'm still going to be thinking about it.
Right.
And it's just, you know, it's worth it to me to just do that and then move on.
That's me when I make sure that the door is locked. I mean, I think everybody has less exaggerated versions of that sort of feeling. We know the door is locked, but I've gone back from my car to make sure the door is locked. And of course, it's locked. It's fine. And you know what? If someone's going to break in, they can get through the lock anyway. You know what I mean? Like, it's completely fine. Burglars aren't going around just jiggling handles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they break into places.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, man. Thank you for sharing that. It reminded me of well, you actually talked about the conspiracy things too, which seems. I love a good conspiracy, and Katie was like, "Oh, I feel like you guys are going to go long because she knows that."
She left.
She did leave.
Took off.
This is the perfect time to talk about the part that she was interested in. But that also seems like an anxiety reduction technique for me is a good conspiracy. I remember after 9/11 was hard on everybody. I mean, you know, even if you weren't in New York, which I wasn't, it's just emotionally difficult. And I remember getting a lot of comfort in the weirdest way, being like, oh, it wasn't that. It wasn't just like a random series of events.
Right.
It was this very constructed, organized shadow government Illuminati sort of thing. And the deeper I got, I noticed the more comfortable I was flying. I know I had to fly a lot at the time, and I was like, it's okay. The government did it.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying that that couldn't possibly be the case. I'm just saying I took very real comfort in being like, they're going to space it out. They wouldn't do it again.
Right. They wouldn't hit New York again. They wouldn't hit planes again. Yeah.
They wouldn't. It's not going to be planes again. It's not going to be New York again. Everything's going to be fine.
It could be both. I mean, it can be. I mean, I'm sure that is something that comforts. I'm sure a lot of people turn to conspiracy theories for, like, you know, comfort. But then there are also some that, you know, probably actually really happened. Like,
sure.
I'm sure, like, when Kennedy was assassinated, the idea that just one guy could take out the leader of the free world is terrifying to people.
Right.
And so I'm sure that they kind of took a little bit of comfort in this idea of, like, this was a mass, you know, conspiracy orchestrated by the government, and like it couldn't just be one guy.
Right.
And so I'm sure that's why a lot of people gravitated towards that. It turns out it was probably absolutely true.
That it was just one fella?
Hey, Lyndon Johnson. Lyndon Johnson did it. But
you do believe one person?
Well, I mean,
Lyndon Johnson.
Lyndon Johnson. I think he called the shots.
Is that a good one? You think?
I think that one. I think history will look back on that, and you know, when we're gone, when America's gone, and it's like some other civilization looking back at, you know, the history of this, it'll be like, yeah, they
laughable.
They took them out.
Yeah, sure.
I just went down there to Dealey Plaza.
I've been there too.
Yeah,
someone wrote 9/11's an inside job on that fence.
Yeah,
it's still there.
The grassy knoll. Yeah, yeah. I went down there, and you know, you get down there, and you always hear about the grassy knoll. And that's like where, you know, a lot of people said they saw smoke coming from behind the fence, and everybody was running there. And then you see where it is,
right,
in relation to where the car was, and it's such an easy shot. Like, it makes perfect sense.
Right.
And, you know, when you look the head going back, like, and they're trying to say that, you know, the head went back because it was shot in the back, which doesn't seem like that makes sense.
Right.
It just makes a lot of sense that it would be from there.
I think given enough time, all conspiracies find their home in the collective consciousness. Like, people accept them. So, like Pearl Harbor, a very touchy subject around the time of Pearl Harbor. Everybody it's even in that stupid movie. Well, I think it was glazed upon in that movie. But the idea that we're kind of like, oh, we maybe let that happen, sort of thing, to like help us get into the war.
That's pretty accepted now.
It's accepted. Yeah. Like, nobody will, at the very least, no one's going to be offended at you suggesting that maybe we had word of it happening. Very similar.
It's a large ocean to fly across without somebody seeing you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, people saying that the F-15s were grounded and all this sort of, like, we could have taken all those planes down. These are kind of more, these are a little bit safer,
9/11 conspiracies. Safer meaning like less wacko.
Well,
or whatever you want to say.
Lusitania from like World War One. I believe it's World War One. Yeah, Lusitania. You know, they were something. The boat sunk, and that got got America into World War One.
Yeah,
they were putting ads in the newspapers. Don't get on this boat. You know, because it's going to go into our space, and if it does come into our space, we're going to shoot it down. It was kind of a game of chicken, and so it was. You know, both of those wars, we were kind of like, we want to get into these wars, and we just need the thing to give us the support of the people to get into these wars.
Right. Yeah. And if I have the capacity in the evil part of my brain to be like, what are 3,000 civilian lives as opposed to world control or dominance? Like, people would be like, that's unimaginable. How could they do something like that? I'm kind of like, they could. I'm not.
You could even see how they would do it.
You're right.
You know, if you were sitting in that seat. And you had you could see that decision being made. And like, this is not a, you know, a perfect scenario.
Right.
But this will get us into.
But Rumsfeld's saying we need a new Pearl Harbor. Like that.
We're talking about 9/11.
Yeah, now I'm talking about 9/11.
I'm going back to what
we could be talking about any of them.
Yeah.
We could be talking about any of them. They all seem kind of bonkers. But when you think of yourself, I always go to the desert island scenario. If I'm on and I think maybe I got this from Bill Burr. We were talking about it. The idea that like you scheme, like the smart is too stupid of a word. Let's just say powerful. The people that find themselves in power. We're on a desert island. We start our own civilization. It's within our grasp. It's kind of like the cult. It's kind of like you get more power, more people, more belief, more money, and all this sort of stuff. You're going to start making crazier decisions to keep yourself in power and to keep things the way they are. And you could even probably delude yourself or in a scarier world, be correct that a sacrifice like that, like one of the worst things ever, you could make yourself believe that it's a good thing, that you're doing like a good job.
I think when you get up into like those people who get into power, they don't look at people like people. They look at them like subjects. You know, I think it's and it's not even trying to vilify them. I think it's just something that probably happens because you're thinking, well, I rose to this position. You know, I pulled myself up and I got here, or my family, you know, behind me got me here. Like, I'm important. I'm special.
Sure.
Like, you know, my decisions.
I am a shape-shifting lizard person. And I deserve baby blood.
Yeah. But there's this idea, I think, that a lot of people in power have, which is they need to shepherd the masses, and the masses can't, you know, really make decisions or think for themselves, really, and they need help.
Right.
And that puts them into, like, in their own mind, some sort of lowercase g God. And so then it makes those decisions easy.
It's similar to me as a doctor. Like, I think doctors probably look at us the same way, like idiots. Like, we go in for our checkups and we're fat and we're still smoking and we're eating too much cheese. You know what I mean? And they're just like, well, take this pill, you idiot. Even though he's like kind of aware that it's like a trial drug. I think there's an us and them sort of mentality sometimes with big medicine and certainly big government. And we all have, I think, part of that brain where we could see ourselves being evil in that way, given the right circumstances.
Yeah.
Like, you're part of that family, and next thing you know, you can condition yourself to look at people not as people but as subjects, and next thing you know, you're pulling the trigger on a lot of weird, wacky shit. What is your favorite area of conspiracy?
Favorite area?
I mean, is it 9/11 or is it aliens? Are we looking at shape-shifting lizard people?
I mean, I don't really have much of an opinion on the alien stuff. Like, you know, it's I just kind of feel like in these, you know, when you're talking about like Kennedy being assassinated and you're talking about you know, the Iraq War and everything, it's the simple, boring conspiracies that are all, you know, basically just dollars and cents and it's just money. That's the ones that I think are the most probable to be right.
Right.
You know, it's just a whole. I mean, the world is just a whole bunch of businesses trying to fuck each other over. You know, like so like that makes sense to me.
Right.
Like, you know, the aliens thing. I don't know. I mean, I think that there obviously are aliens.
Sure.
It's got to be. I feel like, you know, there's...
Well, given the infinite universe.
Yeah.
Well, whether or not they get here.
Yeah, I don't know if they get here. It seems like a long way.
It is a long way, unless they figured out a way to fold the paper. But the idea that's the favorite conspiracy is that they came and manipulated our DNA. That's why we have like one more chromosome than a monkey. Or
Right,
whatever,
right.
than a
Well, that's
chimpanzee.
interesting. That's interesting.
It's all interesting stuff, but that's not what lights your fire. You like the more boring ones.
Well, those are the ones I think. Those are the ones I think aren't conspiracy. I mean, those are the ones I think aren't theory. Like where I think that probably happened.
Right.
I love the ancient alien kind of manipulating our DNA ones. I love that.
But
I don't know if that's real or not.
What are you jumping on the boards for? Like what lights your fire?
Oh, I love reading about all of it.
All of it.
Like I'm fascinated with all of it. I like the sun
crazier
gazers.
the better. The what?
The sun gazers. There was one.
I'm going to look up sun gazers.
Yeah, look it up. There's one that my favorite one that I ever saw on the conspiracy board, and there's a whole bunch of people that really believed this. Was they were saying that Lady Gaga was actually John Benet Ramsey. That John Benet Ramsey wasn't killed; she was kidnapped, and then the Illuminati had programmed her to be a pop star to lead everybody to like a new world order. And there was all these people being like, "Yeah, look at the pictures, like side by side, the eyes are the same space, like." And that one is just a crazy.
But she was on Boiling Points, that MTV show.
Who?
Lady Gaga.
Oh,
Yeah, when she was just like kind of like a civilian, she was on that show. That's a weird.
Yeah.
See, this
Well,
is
I don't
my favorite
believe that
thing.
at all,
No, I know,
but
but my favorite thing about a conspiracy is that they'd be like, "Oh yeah, they did that on purpose." It's like Bulletproof. They'd be like, "They did that to give us some sort of touchdown to be like, here she is as a civilian, but it was like on camera and like it was safe and like it helps the story." But that's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
I love that one.
yeah, I like the really out there ones.
Yeah. But I mean, when it comes to really believing them, you're kind of a little bit more choosy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Speaking of choosy moms choosing Jif, we got to do a quick commercial. Do you want a lot of trans fats in your fucking oil? Fuck you, Jif. I love like things that we aren't sponsored by, just like
Make
really
enemies
going
out of
against. Just really going against them. The Kriegs told me that in college you had a really weird diet. I'm interested in food and stuff, and he said that you had a weird thing with your diet in college.
Oh well, I've never been good at eating.
It goes back to that.
Yeah, like in college I just had no money, so I ate nothing but ramen.
Yes.
For like a long time, like months and months and months of really just nothing but ramen, and I had no money, and I was in New York, and New York's not a good place to not have money. So what I would do was I would take the recycling out of my entire dorm. Because my parents, got me into the dorm, but then they were like kind of cut me off. They were like mad at me or something for the time being, and I didn't really have a job in college. So I would go and I would take all the cans out of the trash from all the dorm, and we had like 18 floors, so it was a lot of cans. And I would every day dump them off at the recycling center, and I'd get enough money to buy like ramen, a pack of Parliament Lights, and like a 40.
Oh my God.
And that would be like my diet for months and months and months.
Because you can buy that case of ramen.
Yeah.
Like $2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But something happened where I was just eating way too much of it, and
arguably one is way too much of that.
And I went to the doctor when I was visiting my parents at home, and they did like blood work or whatever, just like kind of a checkup.
It just comes out as the Oriental flavor. Your blood is Oriental flavor.
And so then I was back at college, and I got a phone call from my dad, who was like, "You gotta, what are you eating? What's your diet? What are you doing?" Because they said that I had a 50-50 chance of having a heart attack in the next month.
What?
Yeah, my triglycerides were so off of the charts that they were like, "You're gonna have a heart attack
because of all the sodium."
I guess, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know
whatever does triglycerides.
Yeah.
So I had to literally eat just nothing but bagels, like plain bagels and water. That's what I ate for like 2 months after that to try to get my triglyceride levels down.
God.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And I have a scar on my leg from it.
He said your leg was eating
see
itself.
that?
What is that?
So I got a scar right there.
What from? How did that
Well, that's why I went to the doctor in the first place. Is because there was this my leg started to eat itself, and I was trying to figure out what it was, and my body was just out of whack and just going crazy.
Your leg loves Oriental sauce. So,
Well, it didn't like ramen, so it's like, I'm just going to eat this part of the leg,
It went there.
Yeah.
Wow. So that must be a good place to eat if you're ever in a pinch, because the body picked it. I mean, it had to weigh its options.
It's all scar tissue now, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, now you ruined it.
Yeah.
So, way to go. Way to fucking... That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you didn't have a heart attack. Let me look at these other things. Oh, spanked on stage. The Creeks told me that, but I'm so glad. Folk singers died in college, conspiracies. The Sam laxative prank.
Have you heard that?
I feel like... Katie, does that sound... It sounds familiar.
Yeah, Zach talked about it.
He did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like, I seem
And
to
then
have
Sam
forgotten
got
it.
mad about it.
Oh, he got
he
mad?
did?
Yeah, no. That's a sensitive story, that one.
You gotta tell it now. I mean, Kriegs told it to me. Sam
Yeah.
already got mad about it. It's already out there.
Well, okay, I'll put it at that.
Because
I was in the wrong.
Yes.
You know Sam's mom listens to this.
She does?
Sam's mom listens to this show?
I called Sam
Hi, Sam's mom.
a human joint on this show. I love Sam. I just thought it was funny to think of him as a really big joint. Keep going.
Yeah, well, there was... we rented this place in Los Feliz one time when we were writing a season of the show, and there were these two like rooms that we had, and I went down, and Sam, we were noticing that Sam would like just kind of eat people's food without asking.
Well, he's a joint.
So. But it's not really. It's kind of messed up on our part because what we did was we put this in his room, so it wasn't like
That's where you really blurred the line of justice and just a mean thing.
it wasn't
to
like
do.
it was in our room. It was like we laid it out to trap him. But Darren from Whitest Kids and I, we went and we got all those chocolate laxatives.
Why do they still make that?
For this reason, for pranks. It's solely a prank-based product.
They have a meeting where we're like, 98% of our sales is the prank market. 2% is old people who don't like prunes. It's hard to find an old person that doesn't like prunes.
So we took them, and then we found a bag of chocolates that kind of were similar in size. And it took a long time. We unwrapped every single individual wrapper from this chocolate bag, and we put a single laxative in it, and then repackaged it and put it in the bag, and we set it out. And it was completely our bad. It was,
Yes, it was.
And so then he started eating them, and we waited until he'd eaten the entire bag, and this is where it was really dumb. Like, this was my plan. Like, this was the.
This is my second time travel destination, by the way. I want to see his face.
Well, this is my reveal. Like, and this is the worst reveal ever. After literally right after he'd eaten the last one, I go, Sam, those were all of my laxatives. Those weren't. Did you eat these? Those weren't chocolates. Those were laxatives. Like,
You went with the innocent approach.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Exactly. And he's like, what? And it's like, why are they wrapped in chocolate wrappers? Like,
That's what he said?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
a valid question.
Yeah. And then, so when he was really mad at me, we were also drinking, like, so like it wasn't very believable what I was doing. I was like, when he got mad, I was like, Sam, it was an accident. It was an accident. Like, I was trying to say that it was an accident that I had wrapped all of these XLXs in chocolate. And
Did he believe it?
no, it just made him more mad.
Yeah.
So, total dick move.
What is the explosion?
What?
It's a gun in the first act. I have to have the third act shitting his pants.
Well, I mean, the thing was, like, I think it had been going on for like 2 days.
What was?
Well, because he didn't eat them all in one sitting. It was this thing. So I think he was like really upset because he didn't know if there was something wrong with him on a gastrointestinal level. Like, he was kind of thinking that he had some sort of stomach flu for like the 48 hours leading up to the big reveal.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
It's a mean joke.
It is a mean joke.
It is a mean joke.
But you like pranks. You had a really mean prank show pilot, didn't you?
Yeah, well, it's still in play.
It's still in
the air. Yeah.
And I don't mean to degrade it or say it's bad by saying it's mean, but I remember I hate pranks, even though I love that story, so I guess I'm full of shit. but like one of the pranks was like hairstyle. Are you allowed? Can you talk about this?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think so.
I just couldn't believe the balls on this guy.
Yeah, well,
meaning you.
I pretended to. We got a fancy hair salon to let me be a hairdresser, and I just like when people would sit down, I would just buzz their hair. And like, you know, just these dudes would come in and they'd tell me what they wanted. And I was like, okay. And then just right across the top, and everyone would freak out. And they kind of took it well. But then like a lady came in, and
what do you mean they took it well?
Well, they were like mad. And then when we reveal, like, yeah, on a show, they're like, all right, because like a guy can just be like, okay, just shave the rest of my hair off, like,
right.
like that's fine, you know,
right.
And then
I would have been pissed.
Yeah,
like
I would
like
too.
this lady. Yeah.
I would too.
Yeah.
And then a lady came in, and I cut 6 inches of her hair off. And she just freaked out, and it was like, it was one of those things where when she was sitting there, I was like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. And then the producer's in my ear, like with an IFB, and he's kind of saying like, you gotta do 6 inches. And I was like, 6 and 3, let's do 3 inches, like 6 inches. You gotta do 6 inches.
Oh my God!
So we cut it, and then she freaked out. But then we had
even after the reveal, she freaked out.
No, after the reveal, she was still like. She was kind of like upset, but the whole premise of the show is that we had it was people being set up by their friends. So then their friends come out, and then they're kind of like, oh, okay, my buddy got me,
Right,
so
right,
it deflects the anger. They're not really mad at me anymore. They're kind of, it's like, I'm going to get you back to my friend.
Right.
And then a lot of them actually would come up to us and be like, okay, now we got to get my friend, so I want to,
oh, that would be good. Then you get the little revenge.
Exactly.
The never-ending cycle.
Yeah. But and the lady actually ended up being fine with it too, because we had like the head of the salon like give her a really cool haircut, and
right.
like we didn't damage it to the point where she was gonna look weird. Like he came in and gave her like a cool short haircut, and she actually really liked it.
Oh my God!
But it was like making me sick.
It's making me sick hearing about.
Yeah, doing it. I couldn't sleep the night before. Like I knew that bit was coming up, and I was like, oh man. It's like one of these things that like when you're like writing them, you're like, yeah, this will be good. This will be funny. Yeah,
right,
okay,
right.
That'll be crazy. I haven't seen that before. Let's do that. And then as it gets to it, like right before it, you're like, oh wait, I got to do it. Like I got to be the person that actually does it. It's
really like
terrifying.
You pranked yourself.
Yeah,
the worst person.
Yeah.
You got 2 days of agony.
Yes.
That's the show. Like we film you doing a prank show, and the pranks get worse and worse and worse and meaner and meaner and
I'm
meaner.
just pulling hard on an electronic cigarette, just trying to.
Are you ever afraid of them exploding, or is that urban legend?
Does that happen? I never heard about that.
Google it.
I got a new thing to be afraid of.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have shared that horror with you. I don't know if that's true. I think it sounds like an urban legend to me. What about the hardest time you've ever laughed? Does that conjure up anything for you?
Hardest time I've ever laughed.
I like to point out it can be a silly thing from your childhood. It could be seeing somebody fall or somebody farted.
Seeing somebody fall.
It really doesn't have to be a good story. I'm just wondering.
What's yours?
I was in a pool with my friend, and we were playing that it was the Olympics, and I was telling him the. I've told the story before. I was telling him the events, and I was doing an announcer voice. I was like, and then we're gonna have the underwater breath holding contest, and then this kid. Who was like, I don't know how old he was. He was younger than us. I feel like that's important. He was like 7 or 8. Is hauling ass doing the crawl stroke, but with his face underwater, and doesn't see us, and it's just coming at us really, really quickly. And I said, as the announcer, I go, and other events such as running from this guy. And it was the timing of it. It was like including him, and we had to be moving. I was like, and other events such as running from this guy. My friend got out of the pool and threw up. We were laughing so hard. Yeah, it was and that's the one of 2 times I've made that guy throw up. And the other time was in our 30s, and that was also
from laughing.
That was also, I shit on weed a lot just because I don't like the way it affects my brain after it's done, after it's out of your system. I feel like I have like a 3-4 day turnaround to be normal again.
Sure, yeah.
But also, I can celebrate it because one of the times that we smoked weed together was the hardest time. One of the other hardest times I've ever laughed. It was just this amazing. We were just in this rarefied air. We found the perfect mix of nostalgia and being high. And I was doing all these impressions. And when I'm high, impressions sound so good. They just sound like I'm really nailing them. So I was doing like Pacino, and I did one that I don't even do. I did Chris Martin from Coldplay, and I was holding up the album Parachutes, and I was like, remember, this is not an actual parachute. It's an album. Like, I can't take any more lawsuits. People jumping out of planes. Like, it's totally because we were high. He laughed so hard. And then I said, and I've told this part of the story before, I go, in the middle of it, and then it was one of those profound stone silences. I go, there are 11 clocks in this room. And I don't remember ever counting the clocks. And we counted microwave, wristwatch, oven. There were exactly 11. And we laughed so hard he threw up in the sink. It was one of my favorite memories. But I mean, like, it's hard. If it doesn't come to you, it doesn't,
Yeah,
it doesn't come to you.
I don't know that I have one that stands out as like, this is the hardest.
It's completely fine. What about this one? When you lay down to fall asleep, do you do a ritual every night? I'll tell you what I mean. Every night when I fall asleep, it's really, really weird. I often pretend that I'm a sniper. I'm not shooting anybody. I like to point that out. It's not like a violent fantasy, but something about being up high and armed and alone. And Noah Garfinkel pointed this out to me. He was like, I do that too. You mentioned it on the show. He says he also thinks it's a situation where you're not supposed to fall asleep. You know what I mean? Like, you're holding very still and you're being very, very quiet, but you're not supposed to fall asleep. So there's something kind of like comforting about being like, I am going to fall asleep.
Like when you're in bed, you're pretending to be a sniper?
I'm pretending often. I'm not even like, I'm just like some sort of army guy. Well armed, well trained, kind of like a Jason Bourne type. Like, nothing's gonna get me.
Yeah.
Like, it makes perfect sense evolutionarily that I would fantasize that I'm some sort of untouchable superhuman because I'm about to go into the very vulnerable state of sleep. That's my interpretation of it. And then when that gets old, I just start pretending I'm the greatest basketball player in the world. I don't watch basketball. I don't give a shit about basketball, but I love watching a documentary. Michael Jordan's there, and he's like, I don't know how he does it. He's the greatest. He's really the king. I wear New Balance because they're made in America. Like, I just think about the products I endorse and, like, the movie about me, whether or not I rock a gold chain, what team I play for. Like, it just, like...
That's a really interesting way to go to bed.
It helps me fall asleep.
Yeah.
But... you know what I get with guests a lot with this question is I ask them, they don't necessarily know the answer. The next time I see you, you're like, I didn't realize, but every time I fall asleep, I think I'm making cheese. I do something boring or I do something empowering.
Well, I mean, I feel like I've I don't know that I have one, but sometimes when I'm like trying to go to sleep, I'll pretend like I'm like, on like a long space trip.
Yeah.
Like, now we're going into stasis.
Perfect.
We'll wake up, we'll be at Jupiter.
And you're not the first person to say that.
Really?
The idea of the sleep pod is perfect. I can't, when I'm watching like Alien, I'm like, fuck this, turn off the movie. I'm going in a sleep pod.
Yeah.
Like, that sort of deep coma sleep is that's perfect. That's a perfect answer.
Yeah.
What kind of soap are we using? Body soap.
Body soap? I just use this. It's just like pink stuff.
See, that's a married guy answer. Does she buy it?
Yeah, I don't think I've bought body soap, but like it's like pink.
But like is there a bar?
No,
also
it's not a
in
bar.
there?
It's a scrub.
Are you only using a scrub?
Yes.
Loofah?
No.
Hand for the privates?
Yeah, hand.
We handing it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wait, I don't use bar soap.
Yeah, okay.
I don't use bar soap.
I use both. I'm using a liquid for the like surface areas, and then when we get in the crevasses, the bar comes out.
Really?
Yeah. I find more control, cleaner. It's kind of gross. It's gross that we all do that.
Well, that seems like because then if I guess you have different bar soap if people are coming over, like you have a guest.
That's a very fair question, but no. And I
really?
had my friend Oren was just staying over
And using your bar soap from your crevasse.
But I'm soaping up my hands. The bar doesn't go in the crevasse.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't butt
That's better.
floss.
But then your hands are going right back on the bar.
But then I wash my hands very vigorously with the soap. This is how we rationalize this gross thing that we do called bathing. But I'm hoping that in the washing with the bar at the end, I'm taking the ass layer off. It's the same thing when I use my father's shower at home. I take the soap and I wash my hands with it long enough that I think I've taken off that like epidermis of dad ass.
Yeah.
Epidad ass. Sometimes things work out.
You shower morning, night, or both?
Can't stop showering. Love showering.
I just shower all the time.
Yeah. Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Bad circulation sometimes too. I get like cold feet or whatever, and the only solution is a shower.
Or if you have writer's block,
Does it help?
take a shower. Yeah, because it puts you in. Someone explained this to me once, why this works. but it puts you in like a left brain because you're doing something that doesn't take a lot of thought.
Yes.
So you're kind of doing a very mechanical movement, and that's why a lot of people have ideas driving, and a lot of people have ideas showering.
I am that way.
Because it puts you, it makes your right brain is doing what it needs to do. You don't need to be thinking, so it throws you over into left brain stuff, and that's when people are better at writing.
Free podcast. That's great. That's so cool. I've had some of the best ideas in my life driving.
Yeah.
I've almost gotten in many car accidents for writing down or trying to voice
While you're
record
driving.
something that seems very profound at the time. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it ends up being the best thing. What about the last time you cried?
I don't know.
Not a good crier?
I'm not a good crier. Like,
Movies count? Music?
I don't know. I don't know. No. I mean,
Weddings?
it's not like I think it would be good to cry. I think it's a good, like, stress relief.
Irish, Scottish. Oh, yeah, it feels great. It feels great.
But I'm not good at it. I mean, I feel like I've tried at a thing. They're like, I feel horrible.
Yeah.
I'd love to cry, and then you have that kind of release in your brain, like kind of like it's like
throwing up.
the opposite of a headache. Almost,
Yeah.
But I'm not good at it.
I'll make it weird. A friend of mine told me that he went to a hypnotherapist for weight loss. And I was like, got so excited because I remembered as a youth I was so interested. I actually have a bit I'm working on about it. When I was a kid, all I cared about was the solar system, aliens, hypnosis, and magic. And the joke is that I was right. Those are the most important things. Those are the most interesting things. And then we just fill it with sports and taxes and whatever it is.
The kids are. Everything is new to a kid. So they're taking everything in at once, and they're just laser beaming on what's important.
To the best, coolest stuff. And I agree. The point of the joke, I've only done it once, is that I was more right as a child. That was correct. That's how you should be. We should only be talking about that we're on a planet hurling through space. Yeah. It's amazing.
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. Exactly.
Dinosaurs, yeah.
We're all done talking about dinosaurs. It doesn't make any sense. And there's like stories of magic, whether or not they're, I mean like real magic, like shit happening, like with some city in India is doing some crazy shit, and we don't care. We just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't even care, and I'm like a caring guy. So anyway, I asked the guy about this hypnosis, and I was like, so you went to a hypnotherapist, and they put you under. And I was like, what was that like? He was like, it was like being in a dream, but you were awake. And I was like, well, then I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Not for any reason. But I just went, and I highly recommend it.
It worked?
It worked wonderfully.
Really?
If you're in LA, her name is Cynthia Morgan. I'm not plugging her, but you can look up her stuff. You can also download some of her like self-hypnosis things. And
I would go because I don't at this point I don't believe in hypnosis.
Let me tell you why.
I would go to try to be proven wrong.
There you go.
Yeah.
And just like look in that cupboard. That cupboard is in the kitchen of life. You can go and look and there's no real harm to it. Nothing bad is going to happen. And you can do it. And this is somebody's job, and she's done it thousands of times. We talked a lot about hypnosis. Here's the thing. It's not that you snap into some state and you just don't remember anything. She said that's very, very rare. The idea that you're going to go so deeply into your subconscious that you'll have no memory of what you said or what you did, or she planted some weird thing that you're going to cluck like a chicken every time the phone rings. It's not really like that. I remember the whole thing, but what I do remember, and as a meditator, I'm pretty decent at relaxing myself. Like I do it every day. It's very, very similar to meditation, but it's guided. So you sit in the chair. First of all, you talk for like an hour and a half. That's the therapy part. Then the hypnosis is about a half hour. And then I lay there. This is why it came to mind. Lay there. It's just very, very typical. I don't say that in a judgmental way. Very typical, like picture a comfortable place. You can see it. Let's go down some stairs. We're going from 10 to 1. More and more relaxed, a lot of repetition. The reason why that's a cliche is because that works. You know what I mean? Like someone saying, I forget what her phrase is, but it's something like calm, relaxing light or something, talking about washing over you. That shit works. We're just getting into the lizard part of our brain, very base stuff. I'm going to lull you into this place. And then the way she puts it is that your conscious is in the front and your subconscious is in the back, and it just kind of turns it around. And I really think it does. Here's the weird thing, though. We talked a little bit about something that was stressing me out, and when you talk to your subconscious about something that's stressing you out, what started happening was that I started crying like almost immediately. I say that with pride because I'm like you, I can't get a good cry out.
Right.
But here's this stranger and a pretty simple procedure. I mean, nuanced, surely. I don't think anybody can do it. But she puts me into this place. wasn't that exceptional. It wasn't like someone flicked the lights on or off. It was just a gradual, very relaxing thing. But then we start talking and getting into some like pretty beautiful stuff that I thought was kicking around my subconscious, and very vulnerable stuff kicking around my self-conscious, and then also some scared stuff, some stuff that we all deal with. Just like we're talking about, the weight of existence comes out in this very kind of like childish way, and just it wasn't. I don't know. I don't mean to be defensive, but it wasn't weeping. But it was, tears just started kind of coming out, and it felt fantastic. It's eye-coming. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's an incredible feeling. When I was done, I was so happy. People want to be broken, I think. I hear about acting workshops where people are broken and they force you down to some primitive state where I get the fucking truth about how you felt about being on the road with your parents or whatever, or how I feel about my divorce. What are we suppressing when you get into some sort of state where one thing I think is permission. You have permission to feel that way. You have permission to feel vulnerable. And also I think that stuff is just kicking around in us. And if we let it out, if it's lulled out, it comes out. So it was a really transcendent and wonderful thing.
Afterwards, did you feel like when you were on the drive home, did you feel kind of like embarrassed? Like sort of like, ooh, I don't know that person, and I was just very open and very like naked
question.
with that?
I've got myself having silly fantasies where I'm like, what if she uses that against me somehow?
Right.
But the weird thing is I've never worried about that with my therapist. But for some reason, because this is like a fringe practice or whatever, I don't even know if that's true.
And that's like your first visit.
And it's my first visit.
Yeah.
But we talked for an hour and a half, and we clicked, as you might imagine somebody like me would click with a hypnotherapist. You know what I mean? Like, I'm interested. I told her I wasn't there to prove her wrong. I wasn't like there to be like, see, I knew I couldn't be hypnotized. I was like, fuck it, let's do this. I'm on board. Like, whatever you do, whatever you say. But surprisingly, I did get trust from her pretty quickly, almost right away. But I did later have that feeling like, I hope she doesn't use this against me somehow.
Yeah.
She's not going to, but you do have those fear flare-ups. Yeah. But I mean...
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, people like us might need help. But here's the thing, is if you don't want to do it, there are things, there's meditations you can do, there's things online I'm sure you can do. Just make sure you get it from a good place, that you can listen to some earphones and probably take yourself to a more vulnerable state.
I think, I mean, I'd be interested in doing like all of that. I think there's I went to a psychic, which I don't believe in.
Sure.
Like, but I went to a psychic.
That's another cupboard.
Yeah. But I was like, oh, I'm going to try this whole thing out.
Who cares? What are you going to lose?
Yeah. So I like sat down with a guy, and he was like, he's talking to me, and he was like, we flipped some cards or whatever, and then he was like, you're going to get married very soon. Like that. And I was like, I already am married. And he goes, oh, sorry, I didn't see the ring. And then I was like, well... I don't know.
Wow.
It's like right off the bat, I was like, all right, well, this is what I thought it was.
That's so heartbreaking. As you started telling, I told this moving story about how hypnotherapy worked, and then I was like, oh, Trevor has one. Oh, no.
No, but I mean,
there's nothing wrong with
guy,
that.
You know?
Yeah, sure. I mean, psychics are an interesting phenomenon. I just was so... I can't escape my preferences. I would rather psychics be real.
Right.
They call it, I've learned from this show that I have a strong confirmation bias. Even with the hypnotherapist, I told her I wanted it to work.
Yeah.
Okay, then, fine. Does that mean it didn't work just because I was like willing and open to it working? I think that's a requisite for it working.
Yeah, it could be the mind space that you go into, especially something like that, where you're kind of trying to get into your own subconscious.
Yeah.
You probably have to want it to work, or at least be open to it for it to actually take any sort of.
I think that's exactly what it is. It's controlled agreement. And then, like I said, it's permission to. It's like, it's okay now. You can let your subconscious out. So the trust element and also my willing participation, I think, was huge.
Well, the one thing with like hypnotherapy, like, you know, where I guess I kind of feel like it does work. You know, I'm kind of skeptical about it, but, you know, is I did. Going back to alien conspiracies, I did a documentary. I used to work at this Asian television network, and I was in charge of like news and, you know, kind of documentary stuff. So I did a documentary on people who had been abducted by aliens. And
what? How did this not come up immediately?
But I went out and found, you know, people who had been abducted by aliens, and
you found them again.
Yeah,
they had already been found by the aliens.
But I got this interview where I got to interview this woman who had been in one of the largest abductions that was witnessed by other people, like in history.
That happens?
Yeah.
People witness abductions?
They say they do. And I went into this documentary believing that alien abductions happened.
Hit it.
And then I came out of it not really believing that they have happened. But I think that something that a lot of these people who claim to be abducted by aliens have in common is that they access these memories of the abduction through hypnotherapy. So then it kind of becomes
the scourge of the hypnotherapy community. I'm sure they don't like those.
But then it becomes like it brings up a whole bunch of things like, well, if this is how they're coming into these memories, like, is it suggestion? I mean, are the hypnotherapists being and what happened when you were asleep? Or are they saying like, now when you were asleep, did you see a light? Right. Is it planning? So,
right.
But I do think that so that would make it seem like there is something to hypnotherapy, like that you can plant things in there. And
that was another fear that I had with that was that I was like, people uncover these things, and like if you say, I realized that my father touched me or something terrible like that. Mm-hmm. When did you realize that? Under hypnotherapy, like 30 years after the fact, mm-hmm. people are going to be like, you're full of shit.
Right.
Like, people don't accept that. So tell me more about the abduction thing. Fuck hypnotherapy. I mean, so tell me about the witnessed one. What does that mean?
It was.
But that was all forgotten. They all had their memories wiped and then recalled it later.
They recalled it later, or they knew something was amiss. But then under hypnotherapy, they kind of started to, fill in the details.
So aliens know we can do shit right in front of them. We have to use our memory erasers.
Yeah.
And if they're hypnotized and remember it, because they don't work in the subconscious, no one will believe them. Because it's hypnotherapy.
I guess if they really got abducted, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, So they said that they saw someone get beamed up.
The witnesses said that they saw somebody get taken up
in a beam of light.
In a beam of light. Yeah.
I love that beam of light shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you talk to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And did your skin crawl at moments? Were you like totally on board?
No, I mean, look, they believe it. I think they absolutely believe it. I think the people who say they're abducted by aliens, I don't think they're lying. I think they're probably good people. They're probably and they're traumatized. I think they're actually traumatized by this stuff because they really believe it. But I don't know, or at least the ones that I interviewed.
Yes.
And it's really mainly one, but it was like a big.
Can we watch this documentary?
It never made it to air, but I have a copy of it. I can show it to you.
Really?
Yeah. But I left being like, I think she's telling the truth, but I don't know that happened.
What about like weird tattoos, or I found this piece of glass in my foot?
I didn't interview anyone like that, but that's a whole nother thing. The implants.
Yeah, implants.
Yeah.
I remember I've told this on the show before. As I said to Katie, I think we've passed the threshold. I think I've said everything. I honestly think I'm going to stop apologizing for repeating myself. I had you tell the Sam story, and I loved it both times. Let's just embrace that sometimes I'm going to repeat myself. Yeah. It's okay.
At some point, you're just going to be like, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah. And I've
said everything
sail
I need
away.
to say. Yeah.
You know what's actually happening, I think, is I'm letting the guest talk more,
mm-hmm.
and it's not an effort anymore. It's just like when I first started the podcast, I had this urgency to interrupt and interject every time I thought of something because I just had this real desire to share. And now I'm kind of like, if people have been listening to the show, they know. Like it's almost getting to the point now where I think they can listen to you talking, and they almost probably know the stories and anecdotes that you're reminding me of.
Uh-huh.
I don't even have to say them. Isn't that bizarre?
That's good. It's a shorthand.
No, I love it. I love it.
You should just start naming the stories, and then you just say story B4.
Yeah. Love song to number 2.
Yeah.
I forget it. I forget. What was it? Love song.
Love song for number 2.
Oh, I got it right. Okay.
Have you ever done a sensory deprivation chamber?
I have. Yeah.
Did you like that?
Did you?
I did. I've done that. Yeah.
I did it, and I talking about a guy who's on board. I thought more would happen. I was bored.
Really?
Because I was laying down. Seated is kind of like an agreed upon meditative place. I'm sure you can meditate laying down, but I found it a lot harder, and I didn't know what to do.
So you're trying to meditate in?
I was trying to go to the other side. I was like, let's do this. My eyes are open. Let's trip. Let's have some weird shit happen. Nothing happened.
Huh.
I thought about trying to holding in my piss. Found out that the person I was with was just letting it go. Because you're in saline, I guess it's.
Wait,
okay.
you're in the same? We were in the tank with someone else?
No. There were 2 tanks.
Oh, okay. Did you do this in Venice?
I did do it in Venice.
I went to the same place you did. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you go once?
I went once.
And was it okay?
It was. I didn't. It was. I went there kind of being like, let's see what this is about. And went in, and the guy was like, yeah, just stay in there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I was like, 3 hours, that seems like a lot. Like, I don't know. And I got in there, and I stayed in about 45 minutes. And then I got to a point where I was kind of surprised. It really works where you don't feel the edge of your body anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you get to this point where, because the solution that you're in is the same temperature as your blood.
Right.
There's no sound, there's no light, so your brain has to start making things up. And then once I just kind of felt like a void, where I was just thoughts and blackness, that got too much for me at the moment. So I kind of I just kind of instinctively put my hand out and grabbed the wall and kind of grounded myself.
Yeah.
And then I left.
So it totally worked.
It totally worked, but it was kind of like, I was like, I'll do this again.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really feel...
We gotta go.
I don't want to just trip now, but I totally got to this point where I was like, okay, I'm just thoughts and nothingness. And that was enough for that visit. And so I left. And the weird thing is, I got out in 45 minutes, and the guy told me to stay in there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And he was gone.
Yeah,
Like-
they lock you in.
Yeah. So I was like locked in this, so I left the door unlocked.
You're not locked in, but you're locked in.
Yeah.
I also got out early.
Okay.
I got out at like 2 hours and 2.5 hours.
Really?
But I became obsessed with I didn't want him to get me out. Even though he just goes like, and that's time or whatever, I became obsessed with the idea of not wanting to be disturbed. I wanted to get out on my own terms. But I never got to that place. I'm actually, in the weirdest way, I'm like proud or impressed. I guess I should say I'm impressed that you were able to like just smush into nothing.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily pleasant, but...
Yeah, it sounds unpleasant.
Yeah, but it wasn't, I would do it again.
But yeah, see, fucking good for you.
Yeah.
Eleanor Roosevelt, something that scares you every day sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff. That's good. Most people are eating cheese sandwiches and high-fiving their uncle every day.
That sounds pretty good, too.
It's not bad. That's
not
why
bad.
they do it every day. They love it. He's always got a dry hand. They don't like that moistness. Well, this is great. Do you want to play one more game? We could do the Google game, or you could tell me how you lost your virginity.
What's the Google game?
We look at the last things we've been Googling. Speaking of me Googling everything Scientology.
Oh, what's the last thing I've been Googling? You mean on the phone?
Yeah, you take your phone out.
All right.
And then you have a droid. Sorry. I don't know how you do it on a droid, but on this you just hit Google and they're all there.
Oh, all right.
See, this is from... I just had dinner with Vikram, and I Googled coffee enema. See, I'll try anything. I don't give a shit.
I Googled
I don't give a
meltdown.
coffee shit. Meltdown?
Yeah.
Wait, to find here.
That was the last thing I Googled.
You son of a bitch.
Hold on, let me get a better one. Let me see if there's one behind that. I don't know how to do...
Heavy metal chelation therapy.
What's that?
That's it's controversial. You can take these pills that bind metals. Like, you know how we all have way too much mercury in our blood? Mm-hmm. I actually just got my blood tested because I just went to the regular doctor, and they do that as a precaution or whatever. And they said I was at like a 7 on a scale of 10. And like, if a Western doctor is kind of like, that's pretty high, I'm like, that must be like absurdly high by my own new agey standards.
So you have a ton of mercury?
I mean, a 7 out of 10 is pretty high. They were saying a 9 or a 10 is bad, but I bet a 7's not great.
Right. Do you eat a lot of fish?
I do, and they were like, tuna in general, any of the bigger fish are really gonna fuck you. And I was like, but I'm eating I thought I was eating like fancy LA sushi stuff, and they were like, it doesn't matter.
It all has radiation in it, too.
Does it?
Yeah, because of Fukushima.
Fuck everything. Son of a bitch. Cynthia hypnotherapist. that goes back from there. Paula Dean says N-word. And then a bunch
That's
of
what you Google?
Well, apparently she got in trouble a couple days ago.
Origami birds folding instructions?
That's a great one. Thank you for sharing that one.
Care Bear Wikipedia.
Just go Wikipedia just for
I
Care
used to
Bears.
see if there was I was in a conversation and I was trying to think of the names. No Heart. I also Googled No Heart. That was the villain in Care Bears.
No heart.
Droopy Dog.
Did you feel conflicted about the Care Bears because they seemed kind of girly? I mean, they were like
I loved them.
I love them too.
Yeah, I love them.
But like, I remember catching a little bit of flack for being like, I love the guy. He's got a potted flower on his belly and he's yellow, and I just want to squeeze him. And people are like, grow up.
Well, how old were you when this was?
Well, I had an older brother. You're the oldest, so I had an older brother. I had him there. I benefited a little bit from that, his marshalling. But I think a lot of my grown rebellion of being like, I can do whatever I want. I'm going to ride a Segway and light sparklers and prance around. Who gives a shit? Comes from that marshalling of an older brother. His obsession with being cool and being a grown-up, being 2 years ahead of me. And then I kind of caught some shrapnel from his own self-criticism, being like, we're not a baby anymore, stop it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, but I am a baby and I love Care Bears. Like strawberry shortcake. I remember loving strawberry shortcake. That was for girls.
No, I didn't have the older brother, so I didn't like really have that signal. I kind of was. I think I got out of the cartoons and stuff like a little late. Where I don't know if it's that late, but I remember I loved Ninja Turtles.
Yes, me too.
Big Ninja Turtle fan. Like I had like 70, like some of them, like the toys and everything.
I know.
And
I don't know why I say I know, but yeah.
And I remember leaving school at the beginning of the summer one year. And all of my friends were totally into Ninja Turtles. And we were like, yeah, Ninja Turtles are awesome. And I lived like 30 miles away from my school, so I didn't really see my school friends in the off months. Like I hung out with the kids that lived in my neighborhood. Then I went back to school that fall and brought all my Ninja Turtles with me to school. And it was like, this is going to be awesome. I'll meet the whole Ninja Turtle gang again and we'll play Ninja Turtles. And everyone's like, no, we're not into that. And I was like, me either. I just brought them. And then that was the end of it.
God in heaven. That is how I feel too, man. I stopped playing with action figures. In fact, if I had your Ninja Turtles, I'd play with them this afternoon. I don't give a shit. I played with action figures until I was 18, secretly. The same kid I made throw up twice caught me once, and I had to scoop them all under my mom's Afghan, and he totally found them because there's that telltale crunch of sitting on an Afghan that's stuffed with GI Joes. Oh God!
What did he do? We just laughed at you.
We still quote it. He goes, "Playing with your toys, Pete." That's what he said. So I can still call him and say, "Playing with your toys, Pete." It was that traumatic. It was like a thing. They were fun. The stories, the epic storyline.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know.
The television wasn't that great. There weren't a whole lot of channels.
Yeah, that's right. We had to make our own entertainment. There were no Xbox.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We barely had ATMs.
That's right. If you didn't have money on Friday, you didn't have money for the weekend.
It was rough times.
The bank is closed.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. I have this big thing where it's like, as a kid, it's all about putting armor on. It's all about suppressing things, about growing up. And then I think once you get through high school, you start to realize you don't need as much armor. And you can start taking it off. Like, I don't think I need this arm plate or this breastplate. All these things that I was fabricating. Like, I don't like silly dancing, or I don't like action figures. So it's our job as grown-ups to remove as much as we can. Like, I look at parents now, and if they're like silly, embarrassing parents that like dance the chicken dance and do silly voices and think whoopee cushions are hilarious and have open hearts, I'm actually like, that's good. That actually takes effort. It's easier to stay in your shell and just be like, I don't like anything. No, never leaving the toddler phase of no, and just being like, no is wonderful. It's powerful. You'll come off as opinionated and smart. All you're doing is negating everything. But if your parents are dancing and being embarrassing, they did the work. That wasn't like a natural state. It took effort to get back to the more natural state, the childlike state, and take that armor off.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, man.
I just always assumed that everybody in the 50s and 60s were like dancing and like,
Yeah, that could be. It could also be
all like
generational.
sock hops and like, you know, corny jokes.
Am I the only one that whenever someone says sock hop, I don't picture a dance, I picture people wearing socks just hopping around on one foot too. I don't know why. That's not a hop. It's like Jessie Klein has that great bit where she's like, whenever she hears someone say it was like throwing a hot dog down a hallway, she's like, I'm never even offended. I just think of how fun it would be to throw a hot dog down a hallway. Jessie Klein, everybody. She's not here, but we'll quote her. Well, this is great, man. I'm so happy that this finally happened.
Yeah.
I canceled on you twice.
Once or no, twice. I don't know.
Well, that's some good grace. Love doesn't remember shit like that.
Yeah.
Very First Corinthians of you. Well, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me,
You
man.
feel good?
Yeah.
There's nothing you wanted to get out?
No, I think I'm good.
Oh, then we feel the same way.
Yeah.
We end the show with the guest saying, keep it crispy. It just means what it sounds like.
Yeah, keep it crispy.
That was so... Whoops. I've dropped that award so many times. Get this out of here. Chris Hardwick Award. I'll put it face down there to take some power from him. Thank you so much, Trevor. You were fantastic.
Pete, thanks.
Yeah, dude.
Now leaving Nerdist.com.